Hello, hello. Good morning, afternoon, depending on what time zone you're in, or evening. Today is Saturday, October 5th, and I am Jessica for Justice. Thank you again, y'all, for being here. I see you in the chat. Ricky, Virginia, Carrie, Lily, Polly, uh, Charmaine. And I see a YouTube user doesn't have a username, but hello. MJ, thank you for joining. I hope everybody is having a good weekend so far and that everything's going well for you. For me, so far, so good. I slept in a little bit later than what I was expecting to do, but that's why I'm later than what I said. I woke up at 9 something and needed a little bit more time to get ready for this morning because I had to find some other videos too. Anyway, so, of course, always a lot of stuff going on, more murder and mayhem and everything going on all over the country. Another execution to talk about. Uh, going to talk about the sheriff, going to talk about the Menendez brothers, um, and some other cases that we've discussed a little bit, and then a lot of new ones, of course. And unfortunately, more domestic violence. I wish that there wasn't any, but yeah, there is. And I have stuff from all over. I got a bunch of stuff in Texas, but also Philadelphia, Seattle, all that, of course. I feel like Seattle and Ohio is becoming the new stars of this show. Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff. Seattle, Los Angeles, Phoenix, some. All right. I don't think I have New York today. I don't see New York on my list. So I guess, oh, Chicago. Yeah, Chicago. So I guess I forgot to look at New York because we know there's still shit going on in New York. Yes. So for those of you that are in Florida, I'm going to be praying for y'all. I did see that there's another hurricane and that it looks like it's going to go through Florida and also going to be not just a hurricane. Doesn't look like it's going to be a major hurricane, but still, nonetheless. The morning feed. Good morning, Dixie. Just got a fugitive out of Seattle who was on the run for 42 years. Good. Was that the guy that was going under a different name? I think I shared that story. There's just so many, I confuse them. But if it was a guy that was going under a different name, then I might have been that, might have shared that. Or did that just happen like today? Let me see. Let me look it up. Seattle fugitive. Boop-a-doo-doo. No, Google. I'll have to look later. Google sucks. All right. I'll find it later. Yeah, I wish YouTube would fix that you can't tag people on your phone. It's so stupid. Kick, you can, but YouTube, no. Mm-mm. Oh, and I just want to share. So I always have stuff in the background, as you guys can see, and I do have things that have been given to me by families and stuff that is about people that have been murdered or missing. So I just want to share something with y'all. So this Pokemon card. Um, so this is a Pokemon card that the family of Uzi made. It's Uzi Garcia. Uh, he was one of the kids killed in Uvalde, and it's just a very cute memory, something in memorial. I'll take a picture of it and put it on online. It says ability protect. As long as this card is in your possession, Uzi's love will protect you. And then the power, helping hand. Uzi wanted to be a cop so that he could help people. By receiving this card, he reaches and helps another person. And I don't know much about Pokemon, but it has some other stuff on the bottom. Oh, there we go. Now it's in focus, so you guys can see it better. But so I am now a co-host on True Compass podcast. True Compass podcast does have an interview with Uzi's dad, Brett, and you should definitely check it out. I think it's on my link tree. Let me see. I don't even know what's on my link tree anymore because I've hid some stuff, changed it when I had trolls. Well, I still have them, but yeah, True Compass is on there. So I'm going to share that link in a sec. True Compass is closer to the bottom, so you can check that out and hear Brett's story. Brett has been very outspoken about what's happened in Uvalde and fighting for rights. He actually got arrested. He got arrested at city council for like cursing at them or something. It was so stupid. Nobody should get arrested for being passionate about their kid being murdered and cursing. I've seen much worse from other people. Good morning, Missy, Disney nerd. Yes, I need to put up my Halloween decorations too. I got a bunch of stuff from Temu, and a couple things are not what I pictured them to be, but that's okay. I got a bunch of stuff that's cut out, and it's like made out of the same stuff that like political signs are made out of, so it won't like get ruined. Because my roommate was like, "You could have made that out of cardboard." No, I can't, because this is waterproof, and like one of them is like a bunch of little glow in the dark ghosts, and they're holding cats, and then I have like black hands coming out of the ground. And flamingos that are like skeleton flamingos. So I am ready. And then Kiddo saw the stuff. She's like, "Don't you have too many decorations?" I'm like, "No, this is nothing. Look at the neighbors. This neighborhood goes all out. And apparently you get 150 kids. So I need to get ready. I got stickers. I got these little light up Halloween rings for them because I'm going to get candy, but I feel like I'm going to run out. So, and I want to get a full size candy because I want to be the cool house. I want to be the cool house on the corner with the full size candy bars because everybody remembers those houses. All right, so we are going to get started with the Kentucky sheriff that shot the judge. So this story came out about 18 hours ago. He's pled not guilty. So this was on Wednesday. We've seen some of these clips already, so there may be some new information in here, maybe not. Some of these videos I screen beforehand and some of I don't. So when you see my reactions are genuine because a lot of times I'll go through the title and read what it says and just add it to the list. So
some new disturbing video now shedding light on a Kentucky County sheriff who is being charged with the shooting death of a judge inside of his court chambers. Sheriff Sean Steins made his first appearance in court last week. That video is just so hard to be able to watch there, where he pled not guilty. Police say Steins shot Judge Kevin Mullins multiple times last week after an argument inside a Kentucky courtroom. They have not offered any details about a possible motive, but if convicted, Steins could serve up to 20 years to life in prison. So I want to bring in Chief Legal Analyst Colleague Rhodes' conversation right now. I'm just seeing that. It's so disturbing. I got to ask you first, it seems like there was some time there that was happening, and also to point out, as you mentioned off camera, that that's not where the shooting actually happened, but there was some conversation, it looked like. So this was a crime of passion.
Yeah, the original pause is not the shooting, and you can see he's looking for multiple angles. And when you look at the entire video, it looks like he got about 4 different shots in that situation. But his attorney argued that exact same thing. His attorney wants the entire video released prior to the shooting so they can see exactly what was happening, because his client is obviously telling them that something else was occurring prior to this happening. And you can look at it. This sheriff was already under a federal investigation. They had lunch together, him and the judge. And so there was already this personal connection multiple days before this shooting took place. And so because of that, his attorney saying, look, he shouldn't even be charged with murder. It should be a manslaughter charge. It should be heat of passion. The judge denied it, kept the murder charge there. But I agree with your assessment from looking at that video. The first approach is this looks like it's something personal. It doesn't just like a random shooting.
Yeah, and also to be able to point out, though, because when you look at what's on video, again, you're innocent until you're proven guilty. Make that point. But the video, I mean, we're seeing people on the video. We're seeing what's happening, going on. If you did it, why plead not guilty?
Well, you plead not guilty because you save yourself for another day. Pleading guilty, the case is over right there. He goes to prison for 20 years to life. You plead not guilty, you get an opportunity for a preliminary hearing. At that preliminary hearing, his attorney will make an argument for a lesser charge. He'll make an argument for some type of pretrial release. He'll make multiple arguments to try to put his defendant, his client, in a situation where he can get some type of lesser charge than what he was already facing, which was life without parole. And so the goal is, okay, we'll not plead guilty and we'll figure out what avenues we have. One of the things that the sheriff said is when they were arresting him, just treat me fairly. And he says, hey, they're trying to take and kidnap my daughter and my wife. Now, those are the statements that the sheriff made when he was arrested. And so he must have some alternate type of theory or defense, if he's this defense attorney, to try to figure out how he maneuvers him out of there. I will say this, the arrest in North Carolina is not a defense to murder. Mm-hmm. So even if you are under arrest, you feel like your life is in danger and someone's threatening you to do something, force you, that's not a defense to murder someone else.
Right.
So if you're saying that someone was threatening to kidnap your daughter or threatening to kidnap your wife, whatever his allegations are, that still wouldn't be a justification to then do that as a defense in this situation.
Okay, so that's in North Carolina. In Kentucky could be different. But the question I have for you now is when you see the video there and you see the access that the sheriff has inside to be able to speak with the judge. I know there's been other crimes that you and I have both been a part of in history, like Brian Nichols, that happened, I believe, in 2005 in Atlanta, when a courtroom judge was shot and killed by an inmate there inside the courtroom. So do you think here in cases like this, you could have different procedures that would come out of the access of a sheriff being able to access a judge because of something like
I was right there in Fulton County. That I started my legal career in Fulton County. Right. So I was in that process. And I recognized that it was a change. They were still on high alert. And I was there a couple years after it happened, but they had significant changes. What I can say in this situation is when you're in smaller counties, you do have access as an attorney, as law enforcement, to those back chambers. In the larger counties, you don't. Mecklenburg County, you just can't randomly walk back there. But if I go to like a Union County or a Lincoln County, you can go to those places and you have clear access to the judge's chambers, to this back hallway area that the public doesn't have access to. So I do think something like this would spark some type of change. But the caveat is that this is a law enforcement officer, someone that's supposed to serve and protect.
Yes.
He would be the actual person that would be preventing something like this from happening. So even if you had protocol in place, I don't know how you shield that person off from being access to the from the judge's chamber.
Judge. All right, Kali Froze, we appreciate your insight, giving us such good context on this case right here as we continue to follow it.
So they mentioned North Carolina law, but does Kentucky have like passion, heat of the moment, make it a lesser charge? Let me see. Kentucky. Yes. So in the internet says yes. So heat of the passion, defendant is in an intense emotional state, get a reduced murder charge to manslaughter. So that could happen. We'll see. We'll see what happens because they haven't posted the whole video in court. They haven't shown the whole video, and the defense wants to show what happened prior to that. So now moving on to another story that we've covered a few times. The young woman that went missing in Manassas Park, missed her baby's first birthday. Her much older husband is a suspect. He has been arrested for hiding a corpse or something like that, not murder. They haven't found her body yet. So this is the latest of what's going on in this case.
Well, tonight we have reached a somber milestone in the search for a missing Manassas Park woman. It's officially been 2 months since anyone has seen or heard from Mamta Kafalbat. Police believe her husband killed her, and although he is behind bars, he has not been charged with her murder. Tonight, Mamta's community held a vigil in her memory, and they told her, Katie Lusso, they are not giving up the fight for justice.
Tonight was all about Mamta Kafalbat, honoring her, remembering her. Many in the crowd tonight wearing Justice for Mamta bracelets as we mark 2 months since she was last seen by anyone other than her husband.
It's not about the candles, right? It's about the flame.
Not a day goes by that this community isn't thinking of Mamta Kafalbat.
She was the symbol of love. Her name Mamta is itself love, and she reflects her name. She was very loving and caring as a friend, as a sister.
Friday night, holding signs and lighting candles, the community came together outside the Manassas Park Police Department for the missing mother and nurse.
We got some really tough news in court last week, and when we left, we realized, you know what, we need to come back together as a community.
Mamta was last seen at the end of July. Her husband, Naresh Bhatt, has since been arrested and charged with concealing a dead body. On Friday, prosecutors said they found large amounts of blood in the home, evidence that a body had been moved, that there's video of Naresh Bhatt going to different dump sites and throwing away bags, and that he sold his Tesla the day after police asked to search it and disabled the tracking device.
I know that a lot of stuff was disclosed last Friday at a hearing that it made people think, what in the world happened to her and why?
Manassas Park Police Chief Mario Lugo stood with the group, thanking them for their support and promising that his officers will get Mamta justice. He told WUSA 9 they are still following leads.
I know a timeline was released in court last week. It kind of spelled out a little bit more information. I think you're going to start seeing more of that.
But the chief tells WUSA 9 his officers will not give up.
We are here for justice for her. We're going to get to the bottom of what happened and figure out a motive and move forward.
For those in the crowd, Friday night was about remembering the beloved mother and nurse.
We come because we want to pause and think about joyful stuff and not so much what's happening in court.
And ensuring her name is not forgotten.
We are very determined, committed to get her justice.
Now, her husband, Naresh Bhatt, remains behind bars on a single charge of concealing a dead body. Now, he was in court this morning, but that hearing was continued. He is due back in court on October 10th. In Manassas Park, I'm Katie Lusso.
Yeah, that's not suspicious at all that he sold his car and disabled the tracking as right when they asked to search it. And all the other evidence that they found. It's a shame that he was going around dumping stuff in different dumpsters, because if it took them too long to figure that out, then they would have to track where those dumpsters went. And I don't know if they're searching where the dumpsters went. They could be searching. I've seen that on Law and Order. But Law and Order is not real. I don't know if they actually go to the companies and figure out where it got dumped and dig. I have no idea. I would assume so, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, PSA, you should get divorce instead of murder. Alimony or child support is better than being in prison forever, you would think. Yeah, there's so many of these stories that a simple divorce would solve all these issues. So now we're going to talk about, they have searched a lot of dumpsters. That's what I thought. But I'm assuming that the dumpsters, by the time they realized that he dumped her, those dumpsters would have been emptied at a landfill or something with a bunch of other stuff. So then they would probably have to track, if they can track, where the dumpster got dumped. Because that won't be easy. But he thought he figured it out. He thought he figured out how to get away with it. Why do people think they're going to get away with it? Because some do. Some do, but like most of the stuff that people have gotten away with, especially like if we look at serial killers from like the 70s, the only reason a lot of them were so prolific was because of the lack of technology. And now we have so much technology. There's cameras everywhere. It's DNA can be taken from you just touching something now. It's way easier to get caught than it was. Like, I don't even know how you wouldn't be able to leave DNA somewhere. Wear an entire bodysuit and gloves and like you would look like you'd have to wear one of those suits that you would wear to like a contamination site. They should get those dogs that were at Katie's house yesterday. Yeah, the cadaver dogs. All right, so the Menendez brothers are back in the news. One, because of the Netflix show. Two, because of new evidence that has come out in the Menendez brothers' father, accusations from other people saying that he sexually assaulted them. There was somebody that was in Menudo that said when he was younger, the Menendez father had molested him and abused him. There's been a lot of stuff that's come out over the last few years. So they are trying to get the evidence re-examined so they can get out. And the Netflix special is also kind of had people talking about them again. The one of the brothers spoke out against the Netflix special. Let me see, Menendez. What really bothered me about the Netflix documentary was the creator of it did not speak to them at all, did not speak to them at all, really didn't care about anything from their perspective, uh, which, if you want it to be completely accurate, but it's not about what's accurate, it's about what people want to watch. It's or what will get more people watching. Every time I turn on Netflix, every single fucking time I turn on Netflix and I go to my profile, it's like, oh, do you want to watch this? The Menendez brothers with their shirts off and hugging each other and looking all incesty? No, I don't. And I don't want to see that shit every time I'm trying to watch something on Netflix. I don't want to watch I'm not going to watch it because I'm not a fan of the work that he's done, and I'm not a fan of what he did. I'm not a fan of what he did to um, the Dahmer victims either. They had no warning, and the way it was done, I don't agree with that. And I can't remember if it was Lyle or Eric. I'm trying to find it, but I can't find it. Hmm. I'll have to find it. I just know that they're upset about it. They're upset over the documentary because it does make it look kind of incesty between the brothers, and that's not okay. And look, hey, I hate murderers a lot, but if these boys were abused in the way that they were, then I can understand why they would have done what they did. And I don't think that they deserve to be in prison for the rest of their lives. Thank you. It was Lyle. Let me see if I can find it. Because I think his wife spoke out against it. I'll find it eventually. I keep finding the... So they say that it's a bunch of lies. That I remember that. They said there was a lot of lies and stuff, and that they weren't happy about it. So Eric has heavily criticized it, accusing the show of perpetuating horrible and blatant lies about himself, his brother, and the murder of their parents. So Eric said, I believe we have moved beyond the lies and ruinous character portrayals of Lyle, creating a character of Lyle rooted in horrible, blatant lies rampant in the show. I can only believe that they were done so on purpose. It is with a heavy heart that I say I believe Ryan Murphy cannot be this naive and inaccurate about facts of our lives so as to do this without bad intent. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's gross. According to the show, they did have something going on between each other. I mean, just because they were abused doesn't mean that they were incest. The brothers, that's gross. Like, he should have at least spoken to them. It wouldn't have been that hard to talk to them. Yeah, they've been in jail. What this happened in what 93 or something? When did the Menendez brothers go to jail? 1996. I think they should be released. So, all right. So now we're going to watch this video from ABC News about the re-examination of the evidence.
I know that this is an area of tremendous interest nationally. We know, especially since the Netflix documentary came out, we're getting a lot of calls.
LA District Attorney George Gascon dropping a potentially game-changing announcement that convicted murderers Eric and Lyle Menendez, who are serving a life sentence, could be freed.
In this case, we've gotten petitions for the brothers in both. Under habeas, basically what someone that was convicted is asking a review of new evidence that had been made available,
saying his office is evaluating new evidence that could potentially lead to their release 35 years after the brothers brutally slayed their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, in their Beverly Hills mansion.
So we have been given a photocopy of a letter that allegedly was sent by one of the brothers to another family member talking about him being the victim of molestation.
The brothers' lawyers submitting that letter allegedly written to Eric to his cousin months before the murder. Reading in part, "I've been trying to avoid Dad. It's still happening. Every night I stay up thinking he might come in. I'm afraid. He's crazy. He's warned me 100 times about telling anyone, especially Lyle." The DA also receiving a sworn affidavit by Roy Rossello of the 80s boy band Menudo, alleging he was sexually assaulted by Jose Menendez when he was just a teenager.
They could walk out based on what the court decides, or they can have the sentence given a different shape, or they can have a new trial. Right. And those are all options. And we will evaluate all of it.
There has been a sea change in California. Fast forward 35 years later, we've got a much more robust and evolved understanding of abuse, that yes, abuse can occur both with females and with males.
The renewed interest in this case sparked in large part by the release of a controversial Netflix drama series, Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story, that's topping streaming charts.
Okay, you have to shoot first so that you don't back out. What? Okay.
It also has social media abuzz. Kim Kardashian, an outspoken criminal justice reform advocate, penning an op-ed today saying, "I have spent time with Lyle and Eric. They are not monsters. They are kind, intelligent, and honest men. My hope is that Eric and Lyle Menendez's life sentences are reconsidered." A new generation looking at the case through a new lens.
They're more aware of the trauma that people can carry with them from abuse. It's more brought out into the open.
It was late summer 1989. On a Sunday night, shots rang out in Beverly Hills.
What happened? Who is the person that was shot? My mom and my dad.
Jose and Kitty Menendez were just watching television and eating ice cream when their sons burst into the living room with the shotguns. They just repeatedly fired at close range.
Kitty, a homemaker, and Jose, a powerful music executive.
Jose Menendez was a titanic personality. He was domineering. He wanted to get what he wanted, and he was going to steamroll anybody who got in his way.
Since they were not initially suspects, they were able to claim an insurance payout of $600,000.
The Menendez brothers went on a spending spree. They bought Porsches, they bought expensive watches. That raised suspicions, sharp suspicions, in the district attorney's office.
I got to a point where I have all this money and so much pain. I don't know what to do with it.
Guilt was weighing heavily on the then 18-year-old Eric.
You went to your psychologist, Dr. Oziel, and told him that you had committed this crime. You were in torment, and you told him.
I felt that I was the worst person on earth, and it got to a point where I couldn't live with myself anymore, and I needed help. And so I went to him, and that is what the catalyst was for me getting arrested.
The glow of innocence once surrounding the Menendez brothers is now shadowed by charges of murder. Prosecutors say greed drove the boys to shooting their parents to death last August.
In July 1993, Lyle and Eric's trial began. The two handsome, well-dressed defendants would propel it into a media spectacle.
They were getting love letters and people were writing to them. So it was just a huge mania. And you have to think we weren't in a place where there was social media and things like that.
The brothers testifying that they experienced sexual abuse at the hands of their father.
My dad.
Wait 1 second, Mr. Andrews. Okay, let me
No, he was in the process of answering, so there's no need to ask him.
Can you answer the question?
Yes.
Okay, it was you telling Lyle what?
My dad had been molesting me.
And after confronting their parents about it, Eric and Lyle feared for their lives.
Thought they were going ahead with their plan to kill us. I was just sitting on the couch with my hands in my head saying, we're going to die.
They had been so abused, so traumatized, and that the family was in such horror, such a situation of tension and secrets that were coming out, that they were afraid they were going to get killed if they didn't kill first.
The details, horrific.
He would put me on my knees and he would guide me, all my movements, and I would have oral sex with him.
When Eric was 13 years old, he had told his cousin, Andy Cano, about the molestation.
He wanted to know that if this happened to every kid. I do remember very specifically was him asking me to make a promise to him never to reveal that to anybody.
And so the question in the trial was, do claims of abuse excuse you or mitigate your responsibility for killing your parents? The abuse excuse, it was dubbed, and it fascinated the country.
After weeks of deliberation, a hung jury, the judge declaring a mistrial.
And as I recall, it was women on one side, men on the other side. The women believed the brothers, the men did not, or were not willing to go with the defense.
I assume the women probably believed them because a lot of women have been molested or sexually assaulted, and they know what it's like, so they believe him. It happens to men too, but just not at the same rate. And a lot of this stuff wasn't even allowed in the second trial, which I think that's why they got a conviction. If they would have allowed the same information into the second trial, then I think that it would have been a lot different. That therapist should have gone to jail. He's done so much damage. He lost his license and he still works as a coach or something. Lovely. Wonderful. And before I started having issues with trolls, I was going to stream the first Menendez trial. Now that I'm not having the same issues, I am going to start streaming the Menendez trial at some point. I'm going to get a schedule out and I'll put it out. So if you guys want to watch the first Menendez trial with me, I'm going to be doing that soon, and I'll post it. It's the second trial isn't recorded. They didn't allow cameras in the second trial. And depending on my work schedule, I'll probably be streaming it on the weekends or in the evening or maybe very early, because I am going to be doing stuff during normal business hours. But it just depends what I do, because I have two different things that I'm trying to decide between on what to do. So trying to figure my life out right now, guys, but I'll still be around it sometimes. So we'll figure it out and we can watch the first trial together. It obviously will be very graphic and hard to watch. And Dr. Burgess, I believe, testified at the first trial, which I didn't know. I just heard. No, ma'am, I still have not decided. I wish that I could go into everything with my personal life and put it all out there and talk to you guys about it, but I can't. Like, I wish, but I got a phone call yesterday, and now I have to figure more stuff out, more decisions. I have to come to one decision by Monday. So yeah, anyway.
Fence.
2 years later, a retrial.
Well, the second trial was very different. No television cameras, and the judge severely limited the what the brothers would call the corroborating evidence of how brutalized they were by their father.
But without that sort of sex abuse element, it really looked like they were just these really privileged, greedy children who massacred their parents because they were getting cut off financially.
They were convicted of first-degree murder, sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
I've said for years that if the Menendez brothers were the Menendez sisters, they'd be free today. People didn't want to believe it could happen to boys. They just didn't want to believe it.
3 decades later, the new series from Ryan Murphy stirring controversy because of the suggestion of an incestuous relationship between the brothers.
We all have to remember that this is not an accurate quote unquote account. And anytime you do a series or a film, especially in Hollywood, it's usually sensationalized.
Ayer taking issue with what he describes as blatant lies and a dishonest portrayal of the tragedies in the Netflix series, saying in a statement released by his wife, the show has taken the painful truth several steps backward, back through time to an era when the prosecution built a narrative on a belief system that males were not sexually abused. Murphy, no stranger to controversy, telling E! News the series has created
a conversation about something that's never talked about in our culture, which is male sexual abuse, which we do responsibly.
I think it's time. Their family thinks it's time. I think we're at a point now where any reasonable person taking a look at this case believes they should be out.
For now, the Menendez brothers remain in a San Diego correctional facility. The next hearing on the case set for November 26th, leaving many wondering, could they soon walk free?
I'm not leaning in any direction right now. I'm keeping an open line. Recommendation will be presented to me, but the final decision will be mine.
And I definitely think that they should have been charged with something. They're not completely innocent, but I don't think that they deserve life without parole. And yeah, I'm not a fan of Ryan Murphy suggesting that there's incest. I mean, imagine like somebody's downplaying your sexual abuse and trauma and suggest that the person that was abused with you, that you're now having a sexual relationship with, that is your brother. That's not okay. And I'm not a fan of like true crime stuff that's like they change things. Like they did it with the Dirty John series. They changed stuff in that because I know the person. I know the person that show is about, and it's inaccurate. Yeah, Lindsay, he did it without their, like, he hasn't even spoken to them, and he made stuff that wasn't real. Like adding that they had incest is not okay. And the fact that he does, and the way that he handled the Dahmer series, also not okay. So there's no consideration for the people that are involved. And that really, really pisses me off. I get very angry when it comes to people's stories and trauma being turned into something else and people make money off of it. I've never watched the Dahmer series. I will not watch the Menendez series. And I'm so tired of every time I turn on Netflix, there's the shirtless Menendez brothers looking at each other and then, you know, hugging each other. Like, I don't want to see that. I'm good. Can I have another preview every time I open Netflix? I just want to watch Supernatural. And I just want to see Jensen Ackles. That's all I want. Okay? All right. Anyway. Moving along. So a woman is having issues with identity theft after her sister had a baby and used her name when she had the baby. So imagine your sister is pregnant and then she goes into the hospital and says that she's you and then has a baby, and then the system thinks that you have this baby and all this other stuff. Yeah, I'd be pretty pissed. So it's Las Cruces. I don't Cruces. I'm probably saying that wrong. There's so many weird names in the US that are Spanish and Native American languages.
Evan, thank you. A Las Cruces woman says she.
Las Cruces. All right, here we go.
Evan, thank you. A Las Cruces woman says she's been receiving hospital bills for a child that she didn't have. KFOX 14 News at 5's Ariana Parra in Las Cruces now, where she sat down with that woman and brings us her story. Ariana.
Well, Tanya Golding is a mother, a student, and an employee, and she tells me that the last few months have been a whirlwind because now she's having to deal with her sister allegedly stealing her identity and having a baby under her name.
Literally, I just want to be heard. This shouldn't happen to people.
Tanya Golden found out her identity was stolen when she got a call from her insurance back in May.
I was reached out with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and she notified me that they needed to do referrals for a baby. I thought they were talking about my youngest because he has speech delay. So she was like, no, ma'am, like we're talking about the baby that was just born on the 24th. And that's when I was like, okay, you got the wrong person.
That's when it clicked. Golden says her sister, who she does not speak to, had texted her saying she was going into labor at Memorial Medical Center.
I go into records and they told me that they didn't have to ask for an ID or the insurance card.
What's your initial reaction?
That's ridiculous because I've given birth 3 times, and every single time I've given them my ID, my social, everything. Well, not my social, my ID and my insurance card.
Golden then filed a police report.
After work, I found out where she lived. I called the cops. They arrested her. She was out within a few days, but the baby was placed into foster care.
On top of that, Golden had a Child Protective Services case that she says should have been under her sister.
So they did their own investigation, and I went to court to show that I was not the biological mother for CPS.
Golden's sister, Adriana Robbins Cruz, currently faces 9 counts of forgery and 1 count of identity theft, but even with her ongoing case,
They removed me from the date of birth, birth certificate. From my understanding, they are able to.
leaving Golden with thousands of dollars worth of bills and more work to get her name cleared.
That's frustrating because the hours and times I have had to call out of work.
Now, Golden's sister does currently have a warrant out for her arrest for failing to appear in court. Now, meantime, I did reach out to Memorial Medical Center about this case, and they actually just got back to me. They said that they do not deal with specific cases and do not comment on them. However, they do have clearly defined admissions and intake protocols and are confident that their team adhered to those guidelines. For now,
Clearly not. God, I would be so pissed if I had a sister that did shit like that. Well, yeah, obviously the sister has some issues, and that's how the baby ended up in foster care. But like, her sister, I'm surprised her sister hasn't used her name and stuff when she's been arrested. Oh God, I'd be so pissed. Well, at least the only sisters I have are half sisters, and they're way older than me, so I wouldn't be confused with them, thankfully. But yeah, for her not to be able to remove herself off of the birth certificate, that's a little ridiculous. A lot of ridiculous. Trying to move this down to the bottom because I'm not ready for this story yet. Here we go. Okay. Do, 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 do. Sorry for my random singing. I do it all the time. Do, 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 do. All right. So we're going to get into some domestic violence cases. So just warning you guys that we're going to jump into that for a little bit. So but this story is a woman that was attacked that was able to turn her pain into something positive.
Domestic violence homicides jumped this year in Bexar County. And meantime, today, new grim numbers released from the Texas Council on Family Violence. They say last year more than 200 Texans were killed, and that number doesn't include violence against children or parents.
Tonight, a local survivor is hoping to prevent others from experiencing a loss like she has. KENS 5 reporter Hannah Tita introduces us to the Willow Grace Foundation.
I know.
In her short life, she brought endless joy. Now, Willow Grace lives on not only in her mother's memory, but through a new foundation.
Knowing the sacrifice that she made for me and for her siblings, so that way we could be free of abuse. Like that was something she should have never had to be in the position to do.
In April of 2023, police say Stephen Clare brutally attacked his ex-wife, Mariah Gardner, and two of their children, Willow and Rosalie. Mariah and Rosalie miraculously survived, but Willow, who was just 2 days shy of her first birthday, has now been gone longer than she lived.
I'm just so thankful for the moments that I did have with her. And then comes the waves of sadness.
On Domestic Violence Awareness Month, Mariah launched the Willow Grace Foundation. This nonprofit aims to fill a lot of gaps, like a first-of-its-kind flexible funding initiative. It will offer financial support to domestic violence victims, even if they're not staying in a shelter.
We need more survivors in that space.
Mariah Gardner says she'll make sure laws change. Willow Grace will make sure there's safety for survivors.
I have a lot that I can teach others, things that I wish someone would have taught me.
And we will have information on the Willow Grace Foundation up on our website, kens5.com. In the meantime, the trial for Stephen Clare has been pushed back. No date has been set yet, but if convicted, Clare will face the death penalty.
Good. Anybody deserves the death penalty is it somebody that takes the life of a small little baby, and that was a beautiful little baby. And I'm very proud of her mother for doing that, because I couldn't imagine. I've never lost a child, but the trauma that I've gone through losing my partner to homicide, it's the most traumatic thing that I've ever gone through, and the hardest thing that I've ever had to deal with. So a child, I can't imagine what that's like. So I'm going to check out her foundation, Willow Grace Foundation. Let's see. Willow Grace Foundation. And if they are going to go to the Capitol for laws, I will go there too, and I will support, because all these laws that help victims need support. So here is a link to the Willow Grace Foundation if you guys want to check it out. I hope so too, Missy. I hope he's popular. Very. The only good thing about prison is that they don't take kindly to that kind of stuff. So another case of, well, I don't know if I would call this domestic violence, but it's a love triangle. So this woman killed her ex-lover, their wife, and this woman was a LAPD detective, and she was able to hide it for decades. There was an episode of Law and Order SVU like this, where this Southern chick that worked for the FBI that kept coming around, and Olivia worked with her multiple times, and then it came to find out that she had murdered her husband or someone she loved, their wife. So this is, yeah, this is out of California. Let me see. Oh, I'm playing on the wrong. I clicked on the wrong
I'm really
page.
shocked that somebody would be blamed. I'm really shocked that somebody would be blamed saying that I did this. I mean, we had a fight, and so I went and killed her. I mean, come on.
It's a story that made national headlines. A Los Angeles police detective found guilty of murder. Eyewitness News covered this case extensively. Stephanie Lazarus was convicted in 2012 of killing her ex-lover's wife in 1986. Prosecutors say she didn't commit a crime of passion, but a deliberate killing. And now, years after her conviction, back in the news, having recently been denied parole. Tonight, in an all-new 2020, ABC News takes an in-depth look at this case. And joining us now live in studio to discuss it more is Pat Lalama, a reporter at the time of the story when it broke and covered this extensively. First off, Pat, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Why is this interesting to people still after so many years?
Because it's unbelievable. I mean, it's that simple. I've been around a long time, right? I've covered a lot of high-profile cases, and I tell everyone to this day, this one still resonates with me. I still get chills when I think about the characters, the storyline, the trajectory of the investigation.
Don't call it,
and how it all came to be.
Don't call it characters. Don't call it a storyline. This is a real thing. Yeah.
Oh, they finally got her. And it was just a complete shock to everyone. The last person you're thinking as a crime reporter is, oh, it's going to end up being an elite LAPD detective. But I mean, think about it, Philip. You know the story. They start with, oh, it's 1986 and it seems like a burglary gone wrong. Okay. Even though it was suspicious that it was happening, it happened in a gated high-end community in Van Nuys. Even the detectives were like, okay, well, that's odd. But they were convinced that it was a burglary gone wrong. And then 2 months later, when a similar case happened, that was it. They closed, that's it. It's
kind of like confirmational bias at that point.
Yes. And, you know, look, we have to trust the instincts. They were veteran detectives, and they truly believed that this is what happened. But lo and behold, a few years later, when DNA was really just getting hot.
Beyond a few years.
Yeah,
I mean, this is like from 1986 to 2001, give or take, when it began.
Exactly. So the cold case, so now the government's giving all kinds of money to go back and look at some cases where we can use this new DNA technology. So in 2005, they had in evidence a bite mark, a swab from a bite mark, as you know, right? So the victim was bitten. All right. So,
but even that evidence took some police detective because they had to track down the swab, right?
Well, okay. So it took forever so they didn't know where the swab was. It got misplaced. The chain of custody was a little bit messed up, but they finally found it. And then in 2005, now it still took 4 years to do the testing. All right. So in 2005, they do the testing on the bite, and the criminalist says, well, you know what? There's no one in the CODIS system, the one that tracks DNA. We can't match it to anybody in the CODIS system, but here's something interesting. It's a female bite mark. And to me, that was, well, wow, that kind of changes the story. But the detective said, well, it could be a tag team, man and woman, and, you know, the woman. So they could not change the narrative.
And it was another member of the cold case who went, wait a minute, let's look at this. And then
cold case.
Right. And then they start tracking. They had to follow her quickly. We've only got a minute.
Okay.
You may even, the father involved, we're going to be interviewing the father tonight. Right. So the father did at least suspect a little bit of something going on.
The father had always,
more intrigue.
Yeah, the father always believed that it was someone who the victim's husband knew. And so eventually the new set of detectives in 2009, they pinpoint it. They go surreptitiously get the DNA from this cop. It's an incredible story of how they finally got Stephanie Lazarus. You cannot miss it. You can't.
Yeah, and what we want to do is we want to remind everyone, there are so many twists and turns in this. There's a cup that was used by Lazarus that was thrown away, that they picked up, pulled up, identified. So there's a lot going on here. You're going to want to watch. Pat.
Oh, but wait, one more thing, and how they got her, how they made the arrest with the trick.
Well, and a change in California law that also is what ended up maybe giving her an opportunity at parole. So there's so much going on.
Yeah.
She is still in prison, 27 years
She was
to life.
denied, yeah.
Denied that. So we're going to have a lot to talk about on this tonight. It's called The Killer Down the Hall. It's a new 2020 that airs again tonight right here on ABC7. It's the story of Stephanie Lazarus. We had this in the news just the other day about her parole opportunity, and you will get so many more details in a 2-hour episode that is airing tonight here on ABC7. So, Pat, thank you once again for joining us.
2 hours, wow. Let me see if I might watch that later. 2020 Killer. Yeah, Killer Down the Hall. Maybe I'll stream it on Kick. Gonna have to watch 2020 before Ackles' bum, but Jensen Ackles' bum is pretty high priority. Let's see. All right, so now moving to the Chicago area, Romeyville. There was quadruple murder there, and there's been more and more evidence that is coming out that's changed the narrative of the case and the investigation.
Other news tonight. It has been more than 1 year since the Romeoville family of 4 and their dogs were gunned down in their own home.
And the dogs.
The murder suspect fled.
What the hell would you kill the dogs for? I mean, I'm upset about the people too, but like, do you really have to kill the dogs too? Like,
Oklahoma with his fiance, where they died in a murder-suicide following a fiery police chase.
It's been about a year. The police department in Romeoville just wrapped up their investigation and found shocking new details about what they say happened inside that home last September and who they say is responsible and why. NBC5's Courtney Sisk spent the year gathering those details.
It started here on this Romeoville block, September 17th, 2023, as a wellness check. Alberto Rolón, Zoraida Bartolome, their 2 boys, ages 7 and 9, lived in the home. Alberto didn't show up for work, and Zoraida's family couldn't reach her or the kids. New video from Romeoville police shows the moment they responded.
Oh, God. Dogs are dead. 2 dead dogs.
Officers found a crack in the window and overturned tables inside. The first sign something was awry. Inside, Zoraida, Alberto, their 2 kids and 3 dogs shot and killed by a combined 20 bullets. Police reports show investigators used iPass video, Ring doorbells, cell phone towers, and flock cameras to find a man named Nathaniel Huey Jr. Documents show he was Zoraida's co-worker, claiming they were having an affair, and say his partner, Ermelinda Palomo, knew about it. As police were looking into Huey as a suspect, he and Palomo fled. Her family initially filed an endangered missing person report, believing he took her and that she was in trouble. That brings the story 600 miles away to Catoosa, Oklahoma. Footage obtained by NBC5 shows Huey and Palomo days after the murder together, walking into a Walmart side by side. Inside the store, surveillance shows them shopping. They leave the store together, smiling. A short time later, a flock camera system in the parking lot picked up their license plate, and as they got into their vehicle to take off, Catoosa police squad cars were right behind them. The chase ended in a fiery crash.
Get out of the car!
Body cam footage shows the vehicle in flames. Police say Huey shot Palomo and then himself inside.
Armed and dangerous murder suspect. Out of where? Illinois, I think.
An Oklahoma officer on scene tries to piece together who they were.
She's the missing person, endangered. He's the murder suspect.
Another isn't so sure.
It looked like she was being held against the will.
A new report from Romeoville police obtained by NBC5 News paints a much different picture. So who was Ermelinda Palomo, and why was that Romeoville family of 4 killed on that tragic night?
Last September, Palomo's family attorney said this.
The family wants to make it clear that Ermelinda had nothing to do with the murders in Romeoville.
But an investigation revealed a year of manipulation and deceit. Police say Palomo was aware of the affair Nathaniel was having with Zoraida. They say investigators analyzed iCloud backup records and found Palomo created multiple fake online profiles and phone numbers to communicate with Huey. He thought he was talking to members of a Mexican cartel that had ties to Palomo. Police say Huey didn't know those fake accounts detailed a virtual world Ermelinda created. One account persuaded Huey he was a cartel hitman. Over the year, the messages escalated until one day the account told Huey he needed to kill Zoraida and her family. So Huey, believing he was now a part of this dangerous cartel, carried out the murders while police say Palomo was in the car outside waiting. The report says Huey admitted to committing the murders to a police informant because people were after him. The officer's report says there's no reason to believe Huey ever knew she was the one behind the accounts, and he likely died in Oklahoma without ever knowing that truth. Romeoville's police chief says nothing can justify a senseless act of violence, and this case, unfortunately, does not mean closure for so many continuing to grieve. Courtney Sisk, NBC5 News.
After 5 o'clock, we're going to...
Yeah, that's pretty wild. It's an awful lot of, that's crazy. And the cartel being after you scam is not uncommon, but I haven't seen it in stuff like this. Because normally when I see that, it's somebody trying to get an escort or something, and then they'll get threats like that. But couldn't you have just gone to the police if you were worried that people... Well, I mean, I guess he thought the cartel could do whatever. Yeah, I'm gonna like hide or go to the police or something, not take out an entire family of 4 with their kids. That's crazy. So let me go back to the story. I think I had another video. Let me see what else I can find on this that maybe explains it better, because that was a lot of information in that video. And they didn't really go too far in depth. All right, here's another video. So maybe this will explain it better, because it was quick and kind of confusing. I get that. The depression is already a tropical storm. Milton is coming to Florida. Hopefully it doesn't get any stronger. So let's see what this news broadcast says about it.
Ravi, misery and mystery marked this unfathomable murder case in September 2023. A family of 4 and their dogs executed at gunpoint in the dead of night. Months ago, the I-Team filed public records requests. Tonight, we've obtained a full complement of documents and videos from Romeoville authorities, revealing a tangled killing plot, a fatal attraction love affair that brought down this family. Police files reveal a suburban couple killed the family to stop an illicit romance. He was the shooter, but tonight we've learned she was the mastermind, building an elaborate plot to make it appear a drug cartel hit. Got it. Police body cam video as officers make a Sunday well-being check on a Romeoville family that hadn't been heard from. The explanation quickly apparent. Alberto Rolón, Zoraida Bartolome, and their boys, 9-year-old Adriel and 7-year-old Diego, all shot to death, along with the 3 family dogs. Tonight, hundreds of pages of police records reveal that the family was wiped out by 9mm trigger man Nathaniel Huey Jr., a former security guard who was involved in a love affair with the married Bartolome. And police reports state that this woman, Huey's fiancée, Emelinda Palomo, had posed as a drug cartel operative.
So he was cheating on his fiancée with the married woman that was killed. So, like, girl, just leave him. If you find out your man is cheating on you, leave him. Or just, like, post it on social media what he did. Like, do that. Make a TikTok video like everybody else does. That's insane. Nobody is worth that. Nobody is worth going to prison forever. And now, so they're saying, so the fiance, this woman that was being cheated on, so this guy was cheating on her with the married woman. So the fiance, this one here, made a bunch of fake profiles and was talking to her fiance, pretending to be the cartel and saying that people were after him and this and that. So basically forcing, well, not forcing, but telling him to kill that family and saying if he didn't, then the cartel would come after him. Diabolical.
texting orders to the apparently gullible Huey to execute the family for the cartel. She drove him to the murder scene, and a day later, police tracked the couple and questioned them.
We're trying to figure out what happened at that house.
You wouldn't be covering for Nate at all?
No, he was here. Even my daughter said he was here.
Do you think he's capable of taking someone's life?
No.
But without solid evidence, they are released and leave town. 2 days later, now both solid suspects, the couple is sighted in Oklahoma, where a police chase ends in a fiery crash, Huey shooting his fiancée to death and killing himself.
This brings evil to a whole new level.
ABC 7 police affairs consultant and former suburban police chief Bill Kushner tonight says he's never seen a murder case so complicated and convoluted.
She started this based on the report to keep him faithful in his infidelity to her. It grew into the drug cartel story and multiple pinger phone numbers and text messages. And she really wove quite a web of deception.
Early on a year ago, the plot mastermind herself was described as an abduction victim held against her will, and her family even filing a missing persons report. Tonight, records obtained by the I-Team reveal at least one family member of the shooter, Nathaniel Huey Jr., knew about what had happened. Police say Huey confessed to his own mother that he was the killer. What she did with that is not apparent. Police tonight have declined interviews, and Huey's attorney at the time has not immediately responded to I-Team questions. A few details still hanging out there on this, but it seems to.
I wonder if she wanted to be shot at the end, like if she wanted to die with him, or if he just shot her. I mean, everything was her. She planned it. That's insane. Nobody is worth that. If somebody cheats on me, I'm just leaving. At this day and age, like, I'm not going. I mean, I might yell, I might throw something, but certainly not going to hunt down whoever it was or do something like that. Nothing is worth taking somebody's life unless it's literally life or death. She used the Adelson plan. They're in deep doo-doo. Yeah, we'll never know. We'll never know now. Because I don't know if they had a murder-suicide pact or what. But that's a crazy, crazy situation. And I feel so bad for the family that lost them all. And over an affair. Like, I'm sorry, no dick is worth all that. None. You could buy a better one on the internet, I'm sure. So in San Antonio, they had found a body in a downtown apartment a few days ago. But a couple days later, they have found another body in the same apartment complex. I don't think the same actual apartment. Is it the same apartment? I think just the same complex, but still.
After 5 o'clock or when it gets dark, I'm going to be scared to death.
The second body discovered in 4 days at a public housing complex downtown has its residents and their loved ones terrified. KSAT now able to confirm that both are being investigated as murders.
San Antonio police responded to the Victoria Plaza apartments this afternoon on Barrera Street for a person found dead in their apartment. We're told these apartments are for seniors and disabled people, and people living there tell our Garrett Berger this happened just a few doors down from where another man was apparently killed on Tuesday.
Garrett Berger joins us now live from the scene. Garrett, what do we know about these cases?
Well, we just spoke with the family of the victim found today. His name, 52-year-old Donnell Sterling. Though the cause right now is unclear, the family says that he did die by homicide. At least that's what police are telling them. And it's possible that it was a gunshot or blunt force injury. Now, family says Sterling was a cook and a father of 4. It's not clear how long he may have been dead, though. Residents say they noticed a bad smell earlier this week, and his family last heard from him via text last Thursday, the 26th. His mom says she's been trying to reach him again since Saturday. Sterling's distraught sister talked with us after he was loaded into the medical examiner's van.
Find out who did it, because that's just not right. That's just not fair. It's not right. It's not right. My brother loved his family. He loved his kids. That I'm just hurt.
We also know another man, 59-year-old Nick Martinez, was killed on Tuesday, also on the 9th floor. He was found unresponsive after a welfare check on Tuesday morning. According to the medical examiner, Martinez's death is also being investigated as a homicide, saying he was found with sharp force injury. Between the two bodies found in just over 3 days, people here are on edge.
It's out of control, as you can see. I do live on housing. It's supposed to be opportunity. They're supposed to give us an opportunity here with a home, with safety, and clearly, we're waking up to dead bodies and, weird smells. It's just very chaotic, and, most of us, fear for our life.
The Public Housing Authority, Opportunity Home, you may formerly know them as under their old name, Saha. They say they have security measures on site that include extra lighting, key fobs to get in, and security cameras. But while they have security patrols, it doesn't sound like they have anybody stationed on site, though we have noticed a definite security presence here today. They do say that they're going to be reevaluating their security measures in the days to come.
You think?
Live downtown.
Well, it's good to know that they have security cameras. There has to be footage, and there's fobs to get in, but somebody could have let someone in, and if people are anything like my old apartment complex, they're just going to prop the fucking door open. Because I was in a secure building, and people would just shove stuff in the door so it didn't, the lock didn't latch or shit like that when you just needed to put in a code. Just put the code in. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, so one of the places that's trying to bring me on is in downtown. So that's comforting. But downtown San Antonio, every time I'm in downtown San Antonio, I feel a lot safer than I do in Houston downtown. Bye, Tash. Have a wonderful weekend. So I do feel safer in downtown San Antonio, and obviously there's going to be crime everywhere. And I think somebody connected to these people, if multiple people are killed, is on the same floor and everything, or there's a serial killer preying on them. Hopefully not. Hopefully they get actual security there. So going back to Harris County, a Harris County Precinct 4 deputy constable convicted. Was he convicted? No, accused of abusing women. 2 sexual assault claims have come out. And whenever I see stuff like this, I always want to share it just in case that there's more victims. They see this and they can come out and report knowing that other women have already done so. And nothing pisses me off. Well, I mean, there's probably other stuff that pisses me off, but it really pisses me off to see people that are supposed to help abusing their power and hurting people. Like, you're supposed to help. And prison's not going to be good to him either, because he's an ex-cop. So good luck with that, bud.
New at noon, a former Precinct 4 deputy constable out on bond after being charged with 2 counts of sexual assault. Devon Raming live outside the Criminal Justice Center in downtown, where that former deputy just made his first court appearance. So what did you find out, Devon?
Well, Sherman, this case has been 2 years in the making, and the suspect in this case, prosecutors say, is Ray Alexander Thompson. They say he used his title as a deputy to lure his victims in 2 separate incidents. Now, investigators say the first sexual assault case happened while Thompson was a Precinct 4 deputy back in October of 2022, involving an 18-year-old girl he allegedly met while in uniform working at the Galleria Mall. Prosecutors say they struck up a conversation, which allegedly led to the victim getting in his car, where they started drinking and taking shots. This then led to Thompson allegedly taking her to a hotel room where the victim told investigators she blacked out and woke up with pain in her private areas. Now, investigators say the second case happened after he was no longer with Precinct 4. It involved a woman in her 20s in September of 2023 who he allegedly met outside of her home after making several attempts to court her and told her he was a deputy. He allegedly convinced her to drink with him in his car before taking her to a hotel where she also blacked out and woke up with similar pains. Prosecutors asked for an $80,000 bond, $40,000 for each count of sexual assault, but the judge agreed to a $50,000 bond at $25,000 for each count.
This is a man that is using his badge to execute his crime. And that is something that we should be very scared of. And that is something that a high bond deserves. Unfortunately, it wasn't the high bond that the state requested in this case, but I will respect the court's decision.
The allegations are very serious, but we believe them to be false. Ray has cooperated with the police. He's voluntarily given a statement. We've just been waiting for this day to come so we can begin the defense of the charges.
Now, Thompson did post bond this afternoon after turning himself in today. Investigators say DNA samples were able to link him to at least one of the victims, and both victims were able to identify him in a picture. Thompson has no previous criminal history and is married with 3 kids. Now, investigators say they do believe there could be more victims out there. They're asking anyone who may recognize him or had an encounter with him to come forward. In the meantime, he is due back in court the second week of December. Live in downtown Houston.
Oh, yeah, covering your face. Everybody knows what you look like. Everybody gets bond in Texas. They don't even prosecute marijuana in Harris County anymore. Everybody gets bond. Everybody. Yeah. I had that song stuck in my head yesterday, the Backstreet Boys song. But yeah, everybody gets bond. Everybody. But yeah, Harris County doesn't prosecute marijuana anymore unless you have more than a quarter pound. So a quarter of a pound will get you taken to jail. But if you have any drug related arrests, they try to move those people out of the jail very quickly and into programs or get bond or PR bonds. The people that are in Harris County jail, there's a website somewhere that'll break down the demographics and the charges. The majority of the people that are in the Harris County jail right now are very violent offenders. So it's a catch-22 because now you have more violent offenders and then they're short-staffed, so there's more attacks and all those things. But yeah, Harris County doesn't prosecute marijuana, but some other counties do. So make sure to check the law per county. Because like Florida, at one point, if you had under 20 grams, it was a misdemeanor, but if you had over 20 grams, it was a felony. I'm not sure what the laws are now since I don't live there anymore. And they have medical. All right, so this story coming out of New Mexico, a death is now going to prevent a murder trial from taking place.
Murder trial for an Aztec woman is off after court records show she died during an emergency hospital visit. In 2022, Sierra Collins was accused of orchestrating the murder of William Johnson. Investigators say surveillance video shows 2 men get out of an SUV outside of Johnson's home and immediately open fire before fleeing the area. The 2 men were identified as brothers, Eli and Tyler Chaffin. Deputies say Collins was having a relationship with Tyler and sent threatening messages to Johnson saying she had people who could kill him. While in custody awaiting her trial scheduled for later this year, court records show Collins was granted a hospital visit earlier this month because she was having limited brain function. Records then show the case was dropped due to Collins dying. Eli Chaffin pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter in July and sentenced to 6 years. Tyler pled no contest to second-degree murder, and being a felon in possession with a gun, he was sentenced to 6.
So this chick also threatened to have somebody killed, and over text. I guess I can appreciate that they're dumb and they leave evidence by texting people. Hello. Hello. Yeah, like, so stupid. Another relationship, another murder. Yep. literally never dating ever again. So in Harris County, I talked about this a few days ago. It was a well, we don't know if it was road rage. We can assume that it was road rage. A young man, 19 years old, was heading to his girlfriend's house and was killed on the Katy Freeway. The family had a press conference the other day, and they are offering, typically Crime Stoppers offers a $5,000 reward. This one, they are offering $30,000.
Somebody that's that happy shouldn't be in a grave.
Grieving parents of 19-year-old Cody Johnson, you saw they're pleading for information after their son was killed last week in a road rage incident. Thank you for joining us here at noon. I'm Lisa Hernandez.
And Mandy Sirota. New at noon, Crime Stoppers is now offering up to $30,000 for any information leading to the arrest of those responsible for the road rage murder of 19-year-old Cody Johnson. Johnson was killed near the Katy Freeway last Friday, just around 8 p.m. He was driving a black Chevy Camaro with gold rims. He was on his way to pick up his girlfriend after leaving a family member's home. This morning, Crime Stoppers held a news conference with the Harris County Sheriff's Office and the Johnson family. Sheriff Ed Gonzalez says it is still unclear why Johnson was targeted and shot. They are, however, investigating this as a road rage incident. Johnson's parents are urging anyone with information to come forward.
We listened to story after story after story about how special he was in regards to touching people's lives. What touched me more than anything is how we have to tell you about it unless then you don't get the opportunity to see it. He, by far, is one of the most amazing kids I've ever been around, and I'm parental bias, but after what we've seen in the last week, no father, no mother, no family should have to go through this.
Even though my heart will never be the same without Cody, I just urge anyone with any information to come forward.
As you heard from his mother there in that press conference, anyone with information, please come forward. If you were driving around the Katy Freeway last Friday night, you saw anything that triggers your memory, please call Crime Stoppers 713-222-TIPS. Again, Crime Stoppers is now offering up to $30,000 for any information leading to an arrest.
I hope that they catch whoever did it. There's too many people that are dying just driving, and too many. Okay, for some reason, my Alexa device just told me the world population. The world population is 8.7 billion, according to my Alexa. So just FYI. So yeah, there's way too many road rage shootings. There's so many people that are dying, and Harris County is also number one for road rage incidents, for domestic violence homicides, for alcohol related incidents. It's terrifying to just drive in anywhere, but especially in Harris County. Let's see. All right. So I hope that they find who did this. Not that it's going to bring back their loved one. Seems like a really great kid and everybody loved him. So we've been talking about the murder of the Baton Rouge therapist, and all the information that had been coming out was very positive. And this was the therapist that is suspected to be murdered by the TikTok star, Mr. Prada. But there's some new information that's come out that is interesting. I don't know if it has anything to do with the case, but there might be more to this story than what people were thinking in the beginning. They're trying to figure out, what connection they had. It doesn't seem like he was one of their patients, but yeah, this one I think will be another wild and crazy trial if he doesn't take a deal. But so this, let me see, when did this come
Okay,
out?
thanks so much, Chris.
This was this the one that I just watched? I hope this is the right video. I hope that I have the right one. We'll see. Yeah, Alexa's letting me know that not that many are dying, I guess. I don't know what Alexa's trying to tell me and why she decided to butt in. It scares me sometimes when it does that. All right.
Okay, thanks so much, Chris. We're learning more about the 69-year-old therapist found dead in Tangipahoa Parish on Sunday. Court records show William Nicholas Abraham was accused of molesting an 11-year-old boy in 2015, but he was never charged with a crime. Amelia Strahan digs deeper into that arrest.
For 2 years, East Baton Rouge District Attorney's Office says they've reviewed the case. A prominent therapist from Baton Rouge accused of inappropriately touching an 11-year-old boy during a therapy session in 2015.
Any child sex abuse allegation needs to be investigated very, very carefully.
Fast forward almost 10 years, the therapist and ex-priest William Nicholas Abraham was found dead, his body wrapped in a tarp and dumped along Highway 51 in Tangipahoa Parish.
A lot of physical damage done to the victim. And so it was it was a physical attack. At the very least, he was bludgeoned.
On Tuesday, we pressed the district attorney's office, asking whatever came of Abraham's 2015 arrest. The DA declined an interview, but his office sent us this statement. Assistant District Attorney Tracy Barbara said, quote, after reviewing all available evidence, the best interest of the child, and the lack of any inculpatory statements by the arrestee, we declined to institute formal charges. Craig Murdoch is an attorney not involved in the case, but says the decision not to try it probably came down to a lack of evidence.
In this case, after 2 years of reviewing, they decided that they did not believe they could get a conviction beyond a reasonable doubt against Mr. Abraham. They did not believe they would get a conviction if presenting the entire case to the jury.
Now the sheriff's office is asking for help identifying a man who could be tied to the murder. Officers say the man in these photos was the last person to drive Abraham's car. They say he sped through a traffic stop, crashed the vehicle, then ran away. The sheriff's office says they're still working to determine a motive, but their focus is finding out where Abraham was murdered. Amelia Strahan.
Yeah, so they already know who this person is. They already caught him. But the other information that they said hasn't really been discussed anywhere else. So when I saw that, I was like, well, that's new information. And, you know, that doesn't mean that you can just kill somebody because he was accused of molesting a kid. But the murder seemed very brutal, very personal. But I guess we'll find out when more details come out. Let me see if there's any more updates on it. All right, let's see. No, they haven't updated it since yesterday. Yeah, because all the other information we know, there's not anything new. But we'll see. Just like everything else that, you know, we're waiting on, the sheriff and judge, the system moves slow, so it'll probably be a little while before we get more information. I'm looking through this quick summary to see if there's any new information. Jesus. Okay, so they have footage of Thomas, which is the last name of Mr. Prada. So Abraham is the therapist. He was captured on surveillance footage entering Thomas's apartment the day before his body was found. So the therapist went into his apartment willingly. So wonder how they knew each other. So then they saw Thomas dragging a tarp down the stairs and loading it into Abraham's car. And then they found him with the car later, and they're like, well, this car is stolen. He was arrested for that. Let's see. So I don't know if he's been extradited yet. He was arrested in Dallas. Trying to see. Yeah, the only other... there's no evidence that suggests Thomas was a client of Abraham's. A motive and relationship are still under investigation. So that is the latest. All right, so where was I? This one. So another story in Texas, a woman was tied up when people broke into her home. They threatened to cut her fingers off. It's traumatic enough to have people come in your home, but yeah, it was a pretty horrible experience, but thankfully they've been arrested, it looks like. Let me see, is this...
A Dallas woman was attacked and...
Let's see. It was a group of 4 men attacked a woman in her garage, and they do have a suspect, so I don't think that they have all of them. Yeah, and make sure your garage is all the way shut before you put your back to it. I have seen videos where people close their garage, go in the house, and then somebody like tumbles underneath the garage to get in. You have to make sure that the garage door is down. You have to make sure that somebody can't pry open your garage. I would also suggest locking the door from your garage into your home. I always keep that locked unless I'm entering it or leaving. I mean, it's just a normal lock, so if somebody really wants in, they could probably kick it in, but it'll slow them down.
A Dallas woman was attacked and robbed by 4 men who ambushed her in her garage. Hello, I'm Steve Eager. One suspect is in custody. Police are looking for the other 3. Crime experts call this type of violent crime unusual. And in this case, it appears the criminals were looking for something in particular, something specific. Fox 4's Alex Boyer is following the developments. Alex.
Hey, Steve, and the details are pretty terrifying. You know, investigators were able to identify one of the 4 masked suspects thanks to a fingerprint that was left behind on a piece of evidence at the crime scene. That suspect remains in the Dallas County Jail on an immigration hold. It was in this upper middle class Northwest Dallas neighborhood where Dallas police say 28-year-old Manuel Hernandez and 3 other unidentified men brutally attacked and robbed a woman inside her home on Ellsby Avenue.
This is a horrifying, terrifying scenario, right? One that we have not seen in the Metroplex in a while.
Dr. Alex Del Carmen is a criminologist who studies violent crime trends. On September 21st, just before 10 p.m., Dallas police say the masked foursome approached the victim as she pulled into her garage. They pointed a gun at her and forced her to the ground. According to an arrest warrant affidavit, one of the men hit the complainant on the head multiple times with the butt of the gun while demanding money. The men then forced the victim inside her home and tied her up. The report states that the suspects used Google Translate to communicate and at one point threatened to cut off the complainant's fingers. The arrest warrant states the men were communicating with an unknown person by phone and kept asking about the safe. The victim told them she didn't have one. It's unclear if she was the intended target.
In this particular case, where you have an overwhelming number of people that obviously outnumber her, that are armed, that have their identities covered, and that are giving her instructions specifically as to what to do, she absolutely did the right thing.
The report states the men placed the complainant in the bathroom and told her to wait 10 minutes before moving. They made off with about $75,000 worth of jewelry and other property. Detectives were able to identify Hernandez through a fingerprint left behind on a box that contained rare coins that were taken. Investigators say there's no evidence to say that this was gang-related.
I don't think we know what we're dealing with, i.e. the level of violence, the methodology that they carry out, and the fact that they're obviously being orchestrated and being organized and being given instructions by another entity that is not on location. And that really concerns me.
which is why Del Carmen says it's so important for all of us to be vigilant at all times. I can tell you that Hernandez is in jail, as I mentioned, charged with aggravated robbery. Of course, 3 suspects remain at large. Anyone with information has to call Dallas police.
That's terrifying. Like, you get tied up and then you can't even communicate with the people that are trying to rob you or hurt you because you don't speak Spanish and they don't speak English, and you have to use Google Translate, which doesn't even translate properly. So I like how this story says it's not gang related, and then this pop-up right here, Dallas robbery suspects said to be in Venezuelan gang. So are they or aren't they? Which one is it? Is this the same news station? That's Fox 4. Let me see.
Dallas police arrested
Yeah.
4 men for an attack on a woman in September.
new.
Hello, I'm Steve Eager.
New
Court documents
information.
say the men used Google Translate to communicate with the victim. We're learning all 4 men are Venezuelan and they've been placed on an immigration hold. Fox 4 Stephen Dow in our newsroom with more on the arrest. Stephen.
Steve, we just learned court documents say that Hernandez, the first man that was arrested, told investigators that the other 3 suspects were members of a gang. And as you mentioned, all 4 suspects are from Venezuela and are currently on immigration hold.
This is a horrifying, terrifying scenario, right? One that we have not seen in the Metroplex in a while.
Dallas police have arrested all 4 men suspected of brutally attacking and robbing a woman inside her home on El.
Good. I'm glad that they have caught them all now. Yeah, and I mean, they could have just picked the house because she was the one that was pulling in. Maybe somebody knew what they had in their house. You know, maybe somebody that comes in their home or works in their home. I met somebody that lived in like one of these really rich houses, and somebody also came into the garage and they had cameras inside. So there's video of them, you know, with a gun and threatening them, and they just assume that everybody has a safe and all this jewelry. I have a safe, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you try to rob me, you are going to be sorely disappointed because there is not a whole lot in that safe. I got the safe for my gun, which I only keep when there's children in the home. So that might not even be in there. So don't rob me. I have a nice house, but I don't own it. So I'm renting it. Don't rob me. Thank you.
Ellsby Avenue. The incident happened back in September. The suspects, 28-year-old Manuel Hernandez, 20-year-old Yen Brian Torrealba Sanibria, 24-year-old Carlos Alberto Martinez Silva, and 27-year-old Wilmer Jesus Colmenares Gonzalez are all from Venezuela and on immigration hold. Court documents say when the victim got home around 10 p.m., 4 men approached her garage and pointed a gun at her. She told police that the men used Google Translate to communicate with her during the incident. Police say the men got away with $75,000 in jewelry, a Gucci purse, and the woman's phone. We spoke to criminologist Dr. Alex Del Carmen about the incident.
It is concerning that they are sophisticated enough to be able to identify the crime of opportunity, which in this case, they probably were casing that house or that location for a while. Number 2, that they understood that they could not communicate with the victim and therefore they needed a translation device.
A fingerprint helped police make the arrest of Hernandez. The other 3 suspects were arrested after a standoff near DFW Airport Thursday. According to an arrest warrant affidavit, at one point, the men threatened to cut off the complainant's fingers. The arrest warrant said that the men were communicating with an unknown person by phone and kept asking about a safe. The victim told them that she didn't have one. It's unclear if she was the intended target.
In this particular case, where you have an overwhelming number of people that obviously outnumber her, that are armed, that have their identities covered, and that are giving her instructions specifically as to what to do, she absolutely did the right thing.
The arrest warrant affidavit also reports that the men, quote, placed the complainant in the bathroom and told her to wait 10 minutes before moving.
I don't think we know what we're dealing with, i.e. the level of violence, the methodology that they carry out, and the fact that they're obviously being orchestrated and being organized and being given instructions by another entity that is not on location. And that really concerns me.
Now, the court documents that we also just got a hold of also mentioned 2 other suspect names that were not the names of the people that were arrested. So we're hoping to get more information soon.
Yeah. I know some Spanish, but like if somebody's yelling at me, probably not gonna really understand what they're saying. I saw the video of the SWAT uh, that was there. Let me see. Probably not that exciting. Let me go back to my playlist.
A Dallas woman was attacked.
Oh, pause. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, I just can't imagine going through something like that and not being able to communicate at all. Like, I feel so bad for that woman. I just saw on social I don't know if you guys know who Jack Doherty is. He's a streamer, and he was streaming and driving in the rain and like checking his phone. You can see on the camera that he keeps looking down and he's on his phone. He had a brand new McLaren, and he spun out and wrecked it while he was streaming on Kick. So now Kick has banned him because you can't do stupid shit like that in stream. Even that Kick does have some rules. Kick you can put whatever you want on Kick, but don't drive and crash streaming. So okay, this video I need to delete because we already talked about that. Let me move this up. No. All right, so more love triangles gone wrong. Another one. Another love triangle gone wrong. Oh God, if somebody doesn't love you, just find someone else. It hurts, it sucks, but like don't kill the person that they're in love with or that whoever's cheating on you. Like there's so many of these that are happening. Another one. So a deadly hit and run. This is out of the Philadelphia area. Stemmed from a love triangle.
New details tonight in a deadly hit and run in South Jersey that killed a mother of 3, with the suspect in court today, where we learn this may have all stemmed from a love triangle. Our Steve Keeley reports from Camden.
Soon after 30-year-old Ajee Williams was brought into court, we learned why this was no accident, not the typical hit and run. Williams and the victim, Carla Mahan, knew each other and were involved with the same man. Even her defense lawyer brought that up in Williams' first court appearance today.
There's bad blood between these two parties, and of course it involves a man.
A man who was among the court spectators for the hearing.
It involves my client's children's father and a sexual relationship with this woman.
The prosecutor quoted an eyewitness.
When he observed a physical altercation between 2 females.
When 41-year-old murder victim, mother of 3, Carla Mahan, and mother of 2, the defendant, Ajee Williams, who had just picked up her 3- and 5-year-old children in her Dodge Durango and were inside it too with her when she ran over Carla. Intentionally, prosecutors charged. Accidentally, Williams' lawyer argued. After the two got into a physical fight here in Camden, the witness said Carla broke free and began to walk away, but Williams, he said, didn't just drive away.
Your Honor, this witness then indicated approximately a couple seconds later, he heard another female who he knew as Diamond yell, "Damn, she ran her over."
My client was essentially fleeing an attack. And then at some point, when my client was back in the car, words continued to be exchanged between the parties. At some point, the victim pulled a switchblade, attempted to get into the car from the passenger side. My client panicked, backed up, went forward, and in that maneuvering, the victim unfortunately was run over.
The prosecutor summed up the case, describing Carla's last moments of her life.
He's someone who is out on the street getting beat up, then out on a grassy lot trying to get away, on their feet, being run over by an SUV.
The judge decided to hold the first-degree murder charge and hold Williams in jail until her next hearing, a week before Christmas. In Camden, Steve Keeley, Fox.
Man, I need to start tracking the teen violence, domestic violence, homicides, and love triangles because yeah, people are just fucking insane now. Yes, blaming the victim who can't testify. That is so common in murder trials. So common. It's always the victim's fault. Oh, and in rape trials, it's always the victim's fault. That shit, oh my God. That's another thing that really pisses me off. I get really worked up over those things because I take it personally. And I take it personally because I have gone through that. And it's very hurtful to have to constantly defend your loved one because the defense or whatever, or whoever is the media is spreading this misinformation. So I feel now all of those, so 5 children now both lost their mothers, the one that was murdered and the one that's going to be in prison. And the baby daddy is just going to be out roaming free. So again, the dick's not worth it. It's no hoo-ha of any kind, male or female or whatever, is worth going to prison for the rest of your life. Buy one on the internet, and then you don't have to talk to anybody ever and deal with this. Buy some stuff on the internet, get a few cats, never have to engage with anybody ever again. There you go. Problem solved. So another domestic violence, another case of exes killing exes. So an ex-husband is charged in killing, let's see.
We are following.
So this man killed 4 people, it looks like. No, 4 children. So 4 children and a man and a woman. So that's 6 people. It sounds like it's the ex-husband of the woman that was killed. You guys are already exes. Just go away. Just maybe he didn't want to pay child support. I don't know. Like, y'all are already divorced. Good Lord. Yes, the majority of women in lockup are there because of a man. Yep. Because a lot of times they take the fall. They have the drugs on them. They do whatever for the man. Nope, not me. What was that? Michi, what noise was that? She just made this little, what are you doing? Are you okay? You doing all right? Yeah. You've had your pain meds, so I know you're okay. Yeah, the baby daddy didn't do anything except cheat, but it's like she gave up her entire life for this man, basically, and he just gets to go run the streets. You're going to go to prison forever. Now he's going to be, sticking his ding dong in whatever he wants because you're not around, and he's got his kids full time. But in this case, the ex-husband took out a whole family. I don't know. We need like anger management classes or something in like high school, or I don't know. We need something because people are just so damn angry.
Following breaking news this afternoon, an arrest has been made after the shooting deaths of a woman and a man this summer in Frederick County, Maryland. This afternoon, police say the woman's ex-husband is in custody and charged with the murders. Police described the shooting in Newmarket as a rage killing when it happened back in August. 4 children were in the home at the time of the shooting. They were not physically harmed. News 4's Amy Cho is live this afternoon with details on the arrest. Amy?
Yeah, that ex-husband has now been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. He allegedly snuck into his ex-wife's house and killed her and her partner while there were 4 young kids inside the house. Now, this is a mugshot of that suspect, 33-year-old David Philip Turner, who is also the father of 3 of those kids. Now, the Frederick County Sheriff's Office says Turner lives in Florida and he was arrested on a beach in Fort Lauderdale over the weekend. Turner is now accused of driving here to Newmarket in Frederick County, Maryland at the end of August to commit that double murder. The victims are 33-year-old Cremia Baker and 34-year-old Sean Antoine Lang, who was the father of the 4th child in the house, according to the sheriff's office. Investigators say the 4 kids hid for hours after the shooting until they felt safe enough to come out and call 911.
Now, thank God the kids were okay. But this man had to drive all the way from Florida to like, y'all aren't even in the same state. Like what? What? Why? And really, you thought the whole way, like, yep, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Drive all the way from Florida up to that's not a short drive. And you just didn't consider not once on the way there not to do it and do it with the kids there. Oh, thank God those babies are okay.
The sheriff's office says they still do not know the exact motive behind the killings, but that they believe it was a crime of rage and that Turner allegedly fired more than 40 shots. Now, today I spoke with one of Cremia Baker's friends. She told me she was relieved to hear an arrest had been made and that Cremia was a loving mother and a wonderful soul.
She was just a role model, not just for her children, but for me too. I looked up to her a lot. She was always dancing and smiling and laughing, and she deserved everything good.
I want to extend my condolences to the family and the friends of Cremia Baker and Sean Lang. This was a devastating loss to the family and to the community, a crime of rage and anger that shocked Frederick County to the core.
Now, Turner is currently being held in jail in Broward County, Florida. The Frederick County Sheriff's Office says he will be extradited back here to Frederick County, Maryland, sometime in the next few weeks to face those charges of murder. We are live.
40 shots. That is insane. That's clearly something seriously wrong with that man. And that's terrible. And Charmaine, I'm so sorry that you have an ex that could be capable of something like that. That's terrifying. All of my exes are far away, but apparently that doesn't matter because all of my exes are in Florida. Yeah, they're all in Florida. But I've driven from Florida to Houston. But yeah, thankfully none of them know where I am. There's only I'm trying to think if the one that I would be afraid of the most, I would probably I'm bigger than him now, so I you got some good licks in 20 years ago, sir, but I would take his ass down now. I'm sorry, Charmaine. I don't want to read it out loud so it stays in the broadcast because sometimes I disable the chat when it re-airs. But I'm sorry. Yeah, that jackass is in your county now. Yeah, glad he's behind bars. Piece of crap. So a high speed chase. High speed chase. Let's
Good evening.
Let's see. Where is the Dan Ryan Expressway? I don't know where that is. Somebody commented they thought that they could get away on the Dan Ryan the daytime. I guess the traffic is really bad there. I have no idea where this is. Let's see. Chicago. 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 All right, let me stop singing. So these were robbery suspects that turned into a high-speed chase.
I'm Micah Matera.
I'm Ray Cortopassi.
Breaking news tonight, a high-speed chase on the Dan Ryan Expressway resulted in two suspects crashing into several vehicles as they fled Chicago police, who eventually caught up and arrested them at 71st Street.
And tonight, WGN's Andrea Medina joins us from police headquarters and tells us why police were in pursuit of that pair. Andrea.
Hi, Ray and Micah. Police were looking for their suspects for their alleged involvement in home burglaries in the western suburbs. When police tried to arrest them on the north side, they drove off, leading to a dramatic police chase that was captured by Skycam 9 as it unfolded. Two suspects linked to several suburban residential burglaries involving a Nissan Rogue were arrested in Chicago on Friday. According to Downers Grove police, the suspects not only committed crimes in their suburb, but were also wanted in separate residential burglaries in unincorporated Kane County and Naperville earlier today.
Around 3:40 p.m., Downers Grove police say investigators found the suspects in the parking lot of the White Castle at Addison and Kedzie in Chicago's Avondale neighborhood. As officers attempted to make an arrest, police say they took off in the Nissan Rogue, hitting a suburban task officer who was taken to the hospital for minor injuries. Police say the Illinois State Police Aviation Unit saw the suspects swap vehicles at 31st and the Dan Ryan Expressway, getting into a silver Dodge minivan. Radio traffic details the moments as police pursued the vehicle.
PA, so let's make sure that vehicle is secure. The original Nissan SUV is secure. It was on the overpass of 31st.
Skycam 9 was overhead shortly after it all took place and caught the minivan speeding through traffic on the Dan Ryan.
Southbound Ryan.
Southbound Ryan, pass on 47, 10-4.
This vehicle is wanted for striking a trooper and I believe some robberies and some other stuff.
The driver was swerving between lanes and hitting several cars.
Is wearing green.
Driver is wearing green. Driver is wearing green.
The van then exited at 71st Street where two people jumped out.
He's got a black mask on as well. Ready to bail. Get ready to bail.
One was arrested almost immediately while police chased down the second person who was a driver of that van.
We're running west, running down 7-1, running down 7-1.
After a lengthy high-speed chase and brief foot pursuit, Chicago police then took both suspects into custody.
Looks like ISC has everyone.
And this remains an ongoing investigation, and at this time, charges are pending. We're live at CPD headquarters.
Why did they make reporters stand in front of the police station that's closed? Everybody does this when they're reporting on crime. I love pursuit videos too. I hate when people get hurt. I mean, they're interesting. I think we're all guilty of that. You know, it's we don't know what's going to happen. So much stuff, could be a part of that. Los Angeles has a lot of police chases, a lot. There's like a whole channel on YouTube dedicated to, there is a YouTube channel that's dedicated to police chases. All right, so now going to Phoenix, Arizona. The really scary thing is the type of weapon that is being used in this. They're stealing this guy's car, but they're using not a normal gun. They're not using handguns anymore. They're using long guns and AKs and all that extra scary shit.
A Valley family awakened in the middle of the night to a horrifying sight as masked thieves armed with an AK-47 steal their truck.
Yeah, you can see them right here. There's someone inside. There's someone right here with this gun. I mean, that's terrifying. They soon found out, too, they're not alone. Another family in the same neighborhood had their truck stolen minutes later. Fox 10's Nicole Christine joins us live tonight from Waddell with the exclusive story. Nicole.
Yeah, good evening, John and Christina. Really terrifying for some of these residents. And these thieves seem to be using a relay device of sorts. It can amplify the wireless signal from the key fob, even from your home, and then it can use that signal to unlock the vehicle. We spoke to one person today who says he's frustrated and unnerved, as you can imagine, from what he saw on his security footage from overnight.
Shocked. I can't believe this happened to me.
Michael Florent woke up to an urgent message. Someone was inside his truck.
I woke up this morning to an alert on my phone that my truck had been opened without the key. So I told my wife. She said, well, I just saw an alert on the neighborhood social media that someone had their white truck stolen. So I came out, opened my garage door, and my truck was gone.
Florent checked his Ring camera footage and saw 4 people in masks pull up in a white Camaro, armed to the teeth.
They were gone in 5 minutes. And the one who disabled the horn is the one that had the AK-47 pointing in this direction in case I were to come out. They didn't care if they got caught, didn't care they were on camera. The camera was right above where they were. The lights, they were, lit up, filmed the whole time. They were hooded, gloves, the whole works.
10 minutes after taking Michael's truck, thieves stole a white truck from a nearby home. But in a video, you can see it driving away with a white Camaro following closely behind. Maricopa County Sheriff's Office confirmed they're investigating the theft. And while Florent is not overly optimistic his truck will turn up, he says he wants other residents to be warned of this trend.
I really wish that I had purchased a aftermarket tracking device So I recommend everyone do that because that's not something they would look for.
Florin also gave advice to neighbors who might want to take matters into their own hands and confront the thieves.
If you have video footage and you see it happening, just make sure you're recording it, and it's not worth it, honestly. It's just stuff.
Now, you can store your key fob in a faraway bag, or you can use a physical steering wheel lock. Those are a couple of ways that you can protect your car from theft. And it's also important to just stay up to date with how technology can be used to help people steal your vehicle.
That is, they use the word terrifying a lot in this story, but it is terrifying to know that someone can just drive up and amplify the signal from inside my house and steal the car. I've never been a fan of the push start and no physical key. I like the physical key. Because I hate having to get in, hit the brake, hit the button. I don't like it. I don't. And I really hate when they don't have gear shifters and their buttons. I hate that because like the gear shift I have like memorized. I don't do it. I don't have to look at it, but the buttons and knobs and shit, I gotta look. Yeah, let them take it. If you have an expensive vehicle, get full coverage because you probably are going to need it. The other day, Kentucky's making a law not to be wearing masks. Yeah, I don't think that you should be able to wear masks like that. They call those the poo shiesty. The shiesties should be considered, you know how they are like, oh, these are burglary tools, like part of that. I would consider those part of something like that. But it's really scary to know that there's, all these AK-47s that are out on the street. Yeah, I rent cars a lot, so I've had a chance to test all these different vehicles because right now it's cheaper for me to rent than it is to buy a vehicle. Because I don't trust my car when I have to go places far away. And so many different cars that I've tried, some of them have buttons, some of them have this like knob that you turn. Literally, I hate it. I hate it so much. The car that we have now does have a little, it's kind of like a gear thing. You push it, but it's not like a normal gear shifter. And I don't like it. And I also don't like that I have to get in the driver's side, push on the brake to start the car, because sometimes I just want to, turn the car on or lean in and turn it on. But I don't have no say in how they design vehicles now. So another story coming out of Seattle. A man that, come on, show me the damn title.
It's a matter of the state of Washington.
So a man that was sentenced previously for life was resentenced. So he was 17 when he was initially sentenced to life, and life is typically 30 years. So they resentenced him. I wonder why they resentenced him. It doesn't say. The prosecutors were asking for 80 years resentence. Must have been a pretty horrific case. Oh, he murdered a whole family. Yeah. Yeah, I would say so.
It's a matter of the state of Washington versus Alex.
Long-haired and straight-faced, 17-year-old Alex Barani enters court. According to prosecutors, 17-year-old Alex Kevin Barani confessed to killing 4 members of a Bellevue family in cold blood.
Barani confessed to the killings of Kimberly Wilson, her parents Rose and William, and 17-year-old sister Julia in January 1997. This King 5 archive video is when Barani entered a not guilty plea for this quadruple murder. And now 27 years later, Barani is serving his sentence in a Washington state prison and appearing virtually in court.
So Mr. Barani shall be sentenced as follows. On count 1, 46 years to life.
Thursday, he was resentenced to 46 years to life with credit for time served. The resentencing follows a 2012 U.S. Supreme Court ruling that abolished mandatory life sentences without the possibility of parole for juvenile homicide offenders.
So at 46 years, that's the first time he will go before the sentence review board. And then they will make a determination as to whether or not he is to be released.
Again, just for the record, it's clear.
Making it possible for Barani to be out by 2043, should the law remain unchanged.
That's the hardest part of it, is getting the families to understand why we are here. And it's difficult because the law is ever changing, and we do the best we can to help them through the process.
In King County, Madison Wade, King 5 News.
The other man convicted in this case, David Anderson, was resentenced in 2022 to serve a minimum of 33 years behind bars. The prosecuting attorney's office has appealed that ruling in an attempt to make the sentence longer, and that is still.
Should they not be able to sentence juveniles to life in prison? So that was part of the law that changed, that they were sentenced to life. I guess it really depends on the case, because 17 to 18 is not that big of a jump. If it's like a 13, 14-year-old, maybe. It also depends on the case. I know absolutely nothing about this case, but they murdered an entire family. So let's see. Let's see what we can find. Oh, there's a documentary. There's a documentary on Netflix. Let me see. Oh, come on. So it's in the... But is there? What is the docu? Yeah, the confession tapes. The confession tapes is what is about this. But I don't see a well, so there's also a 2014 Killer Kids episode where they talk about it. No apparent motive. But is that the same case? Or are there more than one? Oh, there's a lot of, but why? Okay, there's a few different, let me see, what's their name? I need to look up these kids' names. Let me look him up, because there's been a few murders there. So let's see, Alex. Oh, wow, he's in there's a Murderpedia that he's in. Let's see. So he killed Rose and William Wilson and their daughters, Kimberly and Julia, and they strangled and stabbed them. So that's pretty brutal. So he confessed after the arrest, but let's see, the first to die was Kimberly. So they had dropped out of high school, went to an alternative high school program. So this was a comfortable, nice Seattle suburb. All right. So one of the kids, his parents separated, yada, yada, yada. The void in their life was filled with fantasy games. They had become followers of goth and gothic subculture. Okay, let's leave the goth kids alone. That had nothing to do with that. I know plenty of weird... Definitely, there's a lot of weird stuff in goth culture, but I know a few people that were goth kids. I like the description in here. The devotees dress in black and wear white makeup. So Alex was also a fan of the Highlander TV series, and he owned a sword collection and often talked about death. An acquaintance said, "Sometimes I thought he might be sort of suicidal." Dawn, 17, filed a complaint against him last year, so before when they were arrested, for beating her. So they found Kimberly in a park. She wasn't at the home. Then they went to the family's home to kill the rest of them. So it doesn't, I'm trying to figure out what his, so he killed Kimberly and then went to kill her family because they might have known she was meeting them. The choice of Kimberly as a victim may have been arbitrary. They simply wanted to kill somebody. No, you can stay in prison. Stay in prison if you just killed somebody just to kill them. Jesus Christ. Like some kids, you know, were abused or have all this other shit going on, but no. No. If you guys want to read more about it, it's on the Murderpedia. Yeah, so the Satanic Panic's cousins, yes. And this is aggravated circumstances, mitigated factors play a big role in the sentence. Def a case-by-case issue. So that's why some of the things I'm not a fan of, like blanket law changes, because they don't take these things into consideration. I think that things should be written in a law where those things are taken in consideration. But it seems like the judge, they made the right decision in this. So if you guys want to go down the rabbit hole, there's the Murderpedia there in the chat. So going back to California, the feds took down a neo-Nazi gang. I feel like Los Angeles probably isn't the best place for neo-Nazis. You got to have a lot of stuff around you that would upset you. An awful lot of immigrants there. Awful lot of non-white people.
And we begin with LA's largest takedown of an extremist group ever. Dozens of alleged members of a white supremacist gang based in the San Fernando Valley have been indicted. Good evening, everyone. I'm Annabelle Sedano.
And I'm Robert Kovacek. And tonight for Colleen, prosecutors say this group embraced anti-Semitic and racist ideologies. Investigative reporter Eric Leonard has more on the case for us and why police decide to take action today. Eric.
Hi, Robert. Well, federal prosecutors used racketeering charges here to go after this group that's accused of being part of what amounts to the San Fernando Valley chapter of a notorious national white supremacist prison gang. The feds allege group members here did a bunch of typical organized crime things like selling fentanyl and meth, dealing in illegal guns, and committing bank fraud. But they say their larger motive was eventually to carry out violence against Jews and other minorities.
This was one of the largest violent extremist takedowns in LA, this city's history.
LAPD officers, FBI, and DEA agents served nearly 30 arrest warrants this morning, including this one at a motel in Sherman Oaks that targeted accused members of a San Fernando Valley white supremacist gang whose name we're not using as it itself is a slur. The 68 people indicted, accused of membership in this group that's tied to a prison gang.
Essentially a local chapter of the Aryan Brotherhood has for many years tormented these neighborhoods in the San Fernando Valley.
The feds say the allegations of gang involvement and extremist ideology among those charged dates back to at least 2016.
The Aryan Brotherhood has a history of domestic terrorism, to include racially motivated attacks.
29 of the accused were arrested this morning. More than a dozen others were already in prison or jail, and agents are searching for 26 others. According to the indictments, members of the group sold all kinds of illegal drugs, including meth and fentanyl, to make money. They allegedly dealt in illegal guns and more recently were accused of fraudulently obtaining COVID-19 loans and relief payments. They say the case took on additional urgency last year with the arrest and separate indictment of a man named Ryan Bradford in Reseda, who pleaded guilty earlier this year to being a felon with a gun.
In his home, a treasure trove of white supremacist paraphernalia, including replica Nazi uniforms, posters of Adolf Hitler.
U.S. Attorney Martin Estrada says the material also included plans for violence against Jews, the same motivation allegedly behind the actions of the others arrested today.
In fact, when we searched his home, we found a notepad in the home that had written as its New Year's resolution, quote, bake every single Jew.
The indictment does not accuse members of this group of any specific acts of violence against Jews or other groups.
We're not going to wait around for a tragedy to occur. We're going to take action right away. And in order to do that, we use every tool in our federal toolbox to address that. And that's what we've done today.
Were they planning something?
Next question.
Those arrested today are making initial court appearances in federal court this afternoon. They're all expected to be held in jail with no bail. The federal racketeering or RICO charges that were brought in this indictment can lead to very lengthy prison terms, up to life in prison for those convicted. Live in the newsroom.
Yeah, RICO is a good way to get people. That's how they got a lot of the mob. I'm glad that they were proactive before anything horrible happened, other than the hell? That's not what I clicked. Go away. I mean, they were selling meth and fentanyl. Alrighty. So yesterday at 4:52 in the morning, everybody got a message, one of those emergency alerts. So Texas has a few different alerts. They have the Amber Alerts. They have Clear Alert, but Clear Alert doesn't get pushed to your phone. It should. And the Blue Alert. So the Amber Alert is, a child that's in danger. And Clear Alert is an adult that is in danger between 18 and 64. And the Silver Alert is senior citizens. But the Clear Alert and Silver Alert, you don't get to your phone. I only see that like on the highway, and you see it online. The Blue Alert does get pushed out like the Amber Alert, and that's when a police officer has been hurt or killed, and they're looking for the suspect. A lot of people in Texas were very pissed off that they got this at 4:52 in the morning. You can turn your alerts off. My phone was on silent. I keep my phone on silent a lot. So I was awake and I thought I didn't get one, but I looked through my alerts. I did get it. So this is the person that they were looking for. Let me see if they're still looking for him. Seth Altman. Because I saved that yesterday. Things could have changed. Nope, they're still looking for him. Okay. Yeah, every state has different alerts, and that's confusing because Clear Alert doesn't exist in other places. People don't know. They confuse them between the states. I think there should be a national, like, let's all name them the same thing. But, then states would have to work together, and God forbid. Oh, that's not the video I wanted. This is the one I want.
And you may have been woken up overnight from a blue alert on your phone. These are issued to try and catch people who may have injured or killed law enforcement officers. Sheriffs in the Panhandle's Hall County say they are looking for this man, Seth Altman. They say he's armed and dangerous, standing 6 feet 2 inches tall with red hair, last seen wearing a blue t-shirt and blue jeans. And if you see him, call 911. By the way, these blue alerts, to get a little bit more information for you, they are issued in the state of Texas anytime an officer has been killed or seriously hurt. The suspect may pose a risk or threat to public and law enforcement, and there has to be a detailed description of the suspect's vehicle or tag available. Again, call 911 if you see Seth Altman.
So that's the criteria there, in case anybody was wondering. And yes, this is only in Texas. Yeah, God forbid that we all work together as states to make things less confusing and us be on the same page. I mean, well, they have other alerts. They have other alerts and other stuff that they do, but this is, I mean, if they did alerts for everybody that was hurt by somebody, then our phones would be going off constantly. But yeah, in Texas, we have Silver Alert, Clear Alert, Amber Alert, Blue Alert, and there's probably something else that I'm forgetting. Let's see. So AI is more and more popular, and it's causing issues. There's been AI using voices of artists and make and making songs and stuff like that. Like Drake, when he released a song, he used an AI version of Tupac. So AI is becoming a huge issue for a number of reasons. So these voice actors recently found out that a tech company is using their voices for AI.
A tech company stole our voices, made clones of them as AI clones, and sold them possibly hundreds of thousands of times.
This is Paul and Linnea, voiceover actors based in New York City. Last summer, they were in the car listening to a podcast about the Hollywood writer's strike and how it might affect VO artists like them when something strange happened.
This specific episode, the host was going to interview an AI entity about the potential harm that AI will have on the entertainment industry. And he is interviewing my voice.
Good morning. Is it okay with you if I call you Poe?
Absolutely. Billy, feel free to call me Poe. As a generative AI technology...
How disturbing and terrifying that moment is hard to articulate.
I spent 6 hours on the internet that night, searching as many text-to-speech products that I could find and listening to all of the voices that they offered until I stumbled upon Lovo.
Lovo are this company, a Berkeley-based text-to-speech platform. Just type what you want to hear.
And one of dozens of synthetic voices like this one. Or maybe this one.
Or this one will read it back in a matter of seconds.
But once she started poking around the company's site, Linnea said she found an AI voice that sounded just like Paul.
I mean, I was stunned. I couldn't believe it. And out of pure curiosity, I just started listening to the other voices, thinking maybe I'll recognize someone I know, a colleague from the voiceover world. And that's when I stumbled upon my voice.
So in May, Paul and Linnea filed a class action lawsuit against Lovo, saying the company illegally stole their voices and identities without permission or proper compensation. The company has not yet filed a response. So how did this even happen?
So in October of 2019, a freelancing site that I'm on where I regularly procure voiceover work reached out to me asking if I would record some scripts for them.
The couple say the scripts were generic radio ads, ones the user said would never be broadcast, so they didn't need expensive usage rights.
They were quite generic. You know, do you need a dry cleaner in Idaho? We're here, right around the corner, your neighborhood dry cleaner.
Paul says about 6 months later, he got a similar request to record dozens of generic sounding radio scripts. In messages the couple shared with the BBC, you can see the user appears to say the audio will be used for research into speech synthesis. Paul follows up to clarify whether the audio will be used for anything other than their specific research. In the next message, the user then appears to confirm the audio will not be used for anything else.
And then I asked, will you be changing the order of my audio or using it in any separate way? And they said no.
As for Linnea, she says the user she spoke with deleted part of the conversation. But in the communications that remain, it appears the user presents the scripts as test radio ads, ones that will not be disclosed externally. The couple said there was no formal contract, just these messages they've shared with us. We can't, however, verify if these are the complete conversations. In both cases, though, the couple recorded the audio, sent the files, and moved on.
We only need a person to read 50 sentences, and I believe that's something an average Joe could do.
The voice you're hearing is Tom Lee, co-founder of Lovo, speaking on a business podcast about how their voice cloning technology works.
We can capture the tone, the character, the style, the phonemes, and how you even, if you have an accent, we can even capture that as well.
We reached out to Lovo on multiple occasions to request an interview with Mr. Lee. We also asked for any correspondence or conversations they may have with Paul and Linnea. They did not respond to any of our messages.
So what's going on in the voice actor cases are a field of law known as rights of publicity. The thing that's being copied is not a piece of copyrighted work, but a piece of someone's personality, right? And so then we get these personality rights or rights of publicity, where the allegation is not you copied my song or you copied my drawing, but rather you copied my voice.
Professor Garcia also says the licenses the couple granted the user who contacted them may have also been violated.
Licenses are permission for a very specific and narrow use, right? I might give you a license that you can swim in my swimming pool one afternoon, but that doesn't mean you can come whenever you want and have a party in my swimming pool, right? That would exceed the terms of the license. And I think that would be the argument for these voice actors here.
The voices have since been removed from the company's website, but an ad still exists online where Paul's supposed voice clone can be heard. So I sat down with a couple to take a listen myself.
Introducing Jenny by Lovo. Artificial intelligence that makes it fast and easy to create voiceovers for marketing, e-learning, documentaries, animations, games, audiobooks, and more.
Introducing Jenny by Lovo. Artificial intelligence that makes it fast and easy to create voiceovers for marketing, e-learning, documentaries, animations, games, audiobooks, and more.
When we all thought of AI in the future, we thought AI is going to be folding our laundry and making us dinner. We didn't think AI is going to replace human beings' creative endeavors.
This case is just one of many being brought against AI companies by artists who don't want to lose control over their work and livelihoods, and more are likely to come.
We really have no other choice but to stand up and give our energy to this, because when companies develop technology that way, it's not innovation anymore, it's just exploitation.
Yeah, we're definitely going to run in more and more issues with this in the future. There's already issues with like AI art and stuff like that because there's a reference that the AI is using to create the art. You know, AI is wonderful and terrifying all at the same time, but like I've seen Terminator. I'm going to be nice to my Alexa, my Siri. I'm going to say please and thank you. I wasn't so nice at first, especially when they would just randomly start talking. I'm like, shut the fuck up. But I've really thought about it. And I'm just going to be extra nice to the technology. Yeah, the Walmart self-checkouts replace cashiers. But the thing with that is, you know, nobody's rights are getting violated. But in Walmart, they have all those cameras. They can see what you're doing. And people have gotten arrested for accidentally not scanning one thing. I was with one of my friends, not friends with this person anymore, but every time we would go grocery shopping, she would always forget to scan something. And I would get so nervous. I'm like, girl, you could totally get arrested. But if you want, she's like, don't scan that one. I'm like, I'm not breaking the law for you. You don't have to scan stuff. I'm scanning everything. If you want to not buy something and take it out that door, that is all you. I don't steal shit. I don't care what it is. I'm so paranoid. I'm not going to jail for soda or whatever the hell it was. So there was a pharmaceutical drug bust in Houston. Pharmaceutical drugs have been all over the streets. They have been issues in every circle. You know, Xanax and Percocets and all that, Oxycontin. So much stuff is out on the streets. But 3 Houstonians have pled guilty in this drug bust. This is one of the biggest drug busts I have seen. $1.3 billion. 1.3 billion with a B.
Tonight, charges have been unsealed in a massive pharmaceutical drug bust worth $1.3 billion.
It was a sophisticated system with prescription drug distributors allegedly funneling drugs like oxycodone into Houston pill mills. Sherman Chow sat down with the Drug Enforcement Administration for the details and learned how Houston was an intended destination.
Yeah, we are considered a hot zone for pharmaceutical opioids on the black market because of our big freeways that go north-south, east-west. That all allows for easy distribution. This investigation began in 2019, targeting distributors of opioids and other commonly abused pharmaceutical drugs. The distributors buy their drugs legally from Big Pharma, then ship them to Houston pill mills, where the drugs were sold using illegal prescriptions. 3 Houstonians pled guilty to distributing and dispensing controlled substances. Each face up to 20 years in prison. 10 others, executives, sales reps, and brokers, were also arrested. Most have pled guilty.
Look, the biggest thing about this case is we're going after drug dealers, but drug dealers in a different light. A lot of these drug dealers wear lab coats with name tags. They own pharmacies. They're executives. They're educated. but they're still drug dealers.
They sold 70 million pills, 30 million doses of other drugs to a black market tune of $1.3 billion. The pill mills were often pop-ups, getting a license to operate for a brief period and then shut down and moved on to stay ahead of law enforcement. The DEA's diversion team, which monitors the sales of pharmaceutical drugs, saw these small mom and pop pharmacies popping up and then doing unusually high volumes of sales, so they began to investigate. DEA saying that this operation contributed significantly to the opioid crisis. Guys?
Sherman, thank you. And online right now, KHOU 11 investigates One Pill Fighting Fentanyl, our award-winning documentary streaming on the KHOU 11 Plus app, available on Roku, Fire, and Apple.
Life in prison. I wonder how many people died because of them. All for money. I've lost a lot of friends to overdoses, but the very first one was an overdose from Oxycontin and Xanax. And I was 22. And that person was a wonderful person and should still be here. But because of what happened to him, I changed my life significantly. And shortly after him, I lost another friend, same thing, Oxycontin and Xanax. And like we had just gone to Oktoberfest and all this. It ruins lives. There's a reason why they've cracked down so hard. So I hope that they go to prison for a very, 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 very long time, because not a fan. So the next story that I'm going to share isn't crime related. It is health related, and this is something that is very personal to me. Basal cell carcinoma is skin cancer, and it's typically it's like in the middle. So the skin cancers, they're called that because of how deep they go. Like melanoma, goes deeper than the other one. So this one's kind of in the middle, and it's normally not something that is deadly, but it's very important to get your skin checked, go to your doctor, get anything unusual looked at. My mom died from basal cell, which is very, very rare, because by the time she was able to get everything looked at and taken care of, it had already metastasized to the bones in her face. And she had so many surgeries, and she suffered for a decade or so with this. So I wouldn't wish what happened to her on anybody. So definitely please take care of yourself and your largest organ, which is your skin.
Governor Kathy Hochul says she is back on the job after having a procedure to remove a basal cell carcinoma type of skin cancer from her nose.
And she's reminding everyone to get their own skin cancer checks. Today is Stand Up to Cancer Day, aimed at creating awareness. I spoke with a dermatologist who explains recommendations.
It's all about early detection.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul took this video with her doctor before the basal cell carcinoma removal procedure.
Done with local anesthesia.
And posted this after.
Right here, you can see there's a Band-Aid.
Doctors say basal cell carcinoma is the most common form of skin cancer. According to the American Cancer Society, this accounts for about 8 out of 10 skin cancers and usually develops on sun-exposed areas like the face.
It doesn't tend to spread like other cancers that we look at, like melanoma or squamous cell carcinoma. But it is important to treat, because if untreated, it will continue to grow in the area that it is present and can affect underlying structures and cause other issues,
like invading the bone or other tissues. Dr. Eric Lesh is an assistant professor of dermatology at Mount Sinai Hospital. Whenever anyone in the public eye comes forward with a diagnosis like this, he says, it spreads awareness. Notably, earlier this year, a film about Bob Marley's life was released. He died at age 36 from melanoma. And last year, singer Jimmy Buffett died from melanoma.
After that happened, I had several patients that came in specifically for skin checks and referenced Jimmy Buffett.
He says you should look for moles or other spots with asymmetry, irregular edges, uneven color if they're growing, and also get a yearly skin check with a dermatologist.
Even if you don't see something on yourself, there are areas that you can't necessarily check regularly. Skin cancers hide all over. Melanomas can be found on the feet, the nails. Even we see cancers in the scalp.
It is so important. So let's talk about access. The doctor suggests looking for free skin cancer screenings in your area. You can find listings on the American Academy of Dermatology's website. And the big tip, he says, of course, wear sunscreen.
Yes, wear sunscreen. I wear so much sunscreen. My mom, used to do, that was her generation, used baby oil and all that stuff. And my mom's cancer started out just right here on her nose. And part of the issue is when she initially tried to get medical help. This was back when Bush was president, W. Bush, and they would not cover it because it was a pre-existing condition. So because of that, by the time that changed and she was able to get it removed, because they actually took the nostril, it had already spread, like they said, to the bone and the tissue. And when you have head and neck cancer, so once it spreads, head and neck cancer is automatically stage 4 because of the proximity to the brain. So, and especially cancers, anything that forms here is going to be much more dangerous. So please get checked. Please take care of yourself. I don't want anybody to ever go through what my mom did. So the next couple videos are going to be our ending videos. They are going to be animals in the news. One of them's older, but it's a happy story and it's cute, so I want to share that. So a beaver so this is in Massachusetts. A beaver is going to be allowed to stay at the wildlife rescue. I guess this was like a big thing where the governor had to issue a permit to allow. So now this beaver is going to be safe and happy, and beavers are kind of cute.
A big win for Nibby the beaver and her legion of supporters. The governor stepped in today with an order that'll allow the animal to stay at a wildlife rehab center in Chelmsford. Nibby has been a topic of debate since Mass Wildlife said she had to return to the wild. Her caretakers argued she wouldn't survive on her own. And as WBZ's Julie McDonald tells us, that little disagreement seemed to hit a chord with folks.
Well, everyone in this whole situation wanted the best for Nibby. Mass Wildlife believed that was back in nature being a beaver, but the licensed rehabilitator who's cared for Nibby her whole life and knows this animal's abilities led the charge to keep her, gaining the support of nearly 30,000 people in an online petition.
Woo! Nibby's even excited, huh, Nibby? Look at you. It's like she knows.
Nibby, the beloved beaver, will stay in the home she's always known, Newhouse Wildlife Rescue in Chelmsford. Plus, she's been promoted to something of an animal ambassador. Governor Maura Healey posted this photo of Nibby wearing a seemingly sweet and celebratory smile. The governor said Nibby has captured the hearts of people in Massachusetts and around the country, including mine. I'm happy to report that we have issued a permit for Nibby to remain at a wildlife rescue as an educational beaver and inspire folks to protect our natural world. Nibby was found 2 years ago, just days old and abandoned. Despite Newhouse's best efforts to acclimate Nibby to life with other beavers, there were no other babies orphaned in New England for months, meaning no opportunities to socialize and practice being beavers.
I think this meant a lot to people. I think that Nibby stands for more than just, she's not just a beaver. She's an innocent animal in all of this, and there's a lot of respect and love for wildlife. There's a lot of empathy for animals that can't speak for themselves.
Earlier this week, Mass Wildlife had ordered Newhouse to release Nibby back into the wild to learn how to find food and build shelter before winter. A judge issued an order Tuesday temporarily preventing Mass Wildlife from taking the beaver. Now Nibby can stay and start teaching.
I'm just thankful. I'm very thankful. Nibby's going to stay with Newhouse.
And Mass Wildlife added to the governor's statement saying they share the public's passion for wildlife and invite everyone to learn more about beavers and the important role they play in our environment as a keystone species. Outside the State House in Boston, I'm Julie McDonald, WBZ News.
Julie.
Aw. Did you guys know that artificial vanilla used to be done with stuff that they extracted out of beaver anal glands? It's not really used anymore, but it used to be. Yeah, the blue alerts don't happen that often. This one that we got the other day, that was like the first one that I've gotten. The blue alerts are very rarely used because they have very specific criteria. And maybe it could be like how far away you are. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they all go to the whole state. But yeah, so fun fact, artificial vanilla used to be beaver butt goo. And I just want to know, how did somebody figure that out? How? Why? How did you figure that out? So it's castorum is what it's called. They have castor sacs, the beaver. Yeah. And they just call it natural flavoring. So, yeah, you're welcome that I shared that. But don't worry, it's not used as much as it was back in the day. They've actually, or just buy, real vanilla and you won't have that problem and worry if it comes from beaver butt. So a dog that was, the next story is a Hurricane Helen story, but this is a happy story. There was a dog that was stuck in a tree. It was rescued and it's been reunited with its family. Out of all the horrible stories that I have seen coming out, I'm glad to see something positive.
With all the devastation, it is so wonderful to be able to share some good news. Look at Athena. She was swept away by floodwaters, but survived. She's waiting on her family to get here to the Washington County Johnson City Animal Shelter. They'll be here any minute. But before we talk about the reunion, let's take a look at how we got here.
He turned my head to the window and said, "We have to go." And I saw the road was flooded with water.
Allie and TJ Faulkner live in Jonesboro, Tennessee, along the Nolichucky River. When they realized how fast the water was rising on Friday, they rushed their kids to his parents' house. TJ heading back with his dad to try to rescue their pets, but it was too late.
We took his front end loader and we put it up against a building and climbed up on a building.
From the top of that building, he watched as his house disappeared down the river.
A bunch of debris pushed up against my front porch, and it was metal steel beams. It just collapsed my front porch, and when it done that, it just pushed my house, and it just floated. It floated like an ark.
The family's pets still inside. TJ certain he'd never see them again. Then Wednesday evening, this video surfaced on social media.
Oh, girl, hey! I was weeping. I was laughing. I was so happy.
The Kingsport Fire Department and a Murfreesboro Police Department K-9 team discovered Athena in a tree. With floodwaters in the area receding, she was now 20 feet off the ground.
The bloodhound was walking and just started going crazy, and I just happened to look up in the tree and, it's like, oh my God, there's a dog.
Oh, he's cute.
Athena sitting there quietly as the rescuers raced to dig out a damaged ladder from the debris.
So I climbed up there and I gave her a little bit more food and kind of just made sure she wasn't going to nip at me. And she was probably the sweetest dog I've ever met in my life. She went to everyone that was down there. And was rubbing all over them, and she was thanking us.
Athena's heroes taking her to the shelter, where Thursday morning she was reunited with her family.
I'd like to thank all of you all. You put a light at the end of her tunnel, and I appreciate it.
The Faulkners say despite all they have lost, they're feeling grateful. They have each other, and Athena now back safely in their arms.
It's like another member of her family. She's like another child. She means a lot to us.
In Johnson City, Tennessee, Rebecca Pepin, News 5 WCYB.
Thanks for watching. Stay.
Aw, I love that. I love that so much. And that captain was hot. He was a very good looking guy. And he's a fireman and he rescues people. Extra hot. But I'm so glad to see a happy story. I know that if I lost everything in my house, I mean, I would be upset over some things, but like my dog and my cat mean more to me than anything that is in this house. So I'm very happy for them. So the next thing I'm going to share is if it's a few years old. So the next one's not a new story, but it's a cute story. So I just wanted to end it on this other cute story.
Come here, buddy. You just messed it. Come up here for a second. Just come on. Come up here. Come on. Up, 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 up. The maps aren't going to move because he just whacked the computer with his head. So let me just verbalize the forecast, okay? That wasn't very smart. We'll have clouds overnight tonight with temps in the 60s. Then tomorrow, mix of clouds and sun, a couple of showers, and temperatures will top off in the probably like the mid 80s. And then coming up on Friday and Saturday, partly cloudy, turning more humid with temperatures again in the mid 80s. Didn't mean to keep you up. Next time, buddy, we're going to eat after this. So that's the forecast. I will be back at 4:45 with. Oh boy. Oh boy. She's jumping up looking for Craig outside the window.
Oh, don't take this the wrong way, Paul, but this is amazing and great.
Boy.
I love it.
Oh boy. That's
we don't need to see
that
that forecast map. We'll just look at Brody.
Hello.
He loves Craig.
He likes Craig. So Craig is hidden on the outside. He's on the porch, and he's got a kind of a blanket up so the reflection doesn't get into my room here. And now he can't see Craig, so he's going crazy trying to find Craig behind the blanket. So thanks for bearing with us. We'll have your complete forecast, including all the little graphics coming up at 4:45. Back to you, Linda.
That's all right, Brody.
Oh, I love that. That's adorable. I love it so much. I liked ending on that. But let me check I want to check the mooding live stream real quick. See if we can see her. Where is it? No. I guess it's nighttime there. I don't know what time is it in Thailand right now. What time is it in Thailand? It's 2:20 a.m. So yeah, looks like they're just chilling, sleeping in the water again. I love that damn hippo so much. The Australian one needs to also have a live stream. Because, like, look, it's over here in the corner. And I can't understand what anybody's saying in the chat because it's not in my language. All right, so that is going to be it for today. I'm not sure if Steve is going to be streaming tomorrow. It looks like he has a stream up. If you are not following Publicly Buzzed, you should definitely give them a follow. On Sundays, they stream trials. They're doing the Phil Spector trial right now. Let's see, where's the link tree? Here's their link tree. Let me click. Clickety click. So you'll be able to find everything about Publicly Buzzed on this link. So I don't know if it looks like they're doing the stream tomorrow. So hopefully everything with the power in the basement works out. So I am planning to stream on Kick after he is done streaming on YouTube, because Sundays I stream Love After Lockup and I can't stream it here on YouTube. So if you're not following me on Kick, give me a follow. There's the link in the chat. And that's going to be it today, guys. I hope everybody has a beautiful rest of their day and weekend if I don't see you tomorrow. Bye, y'all. I got to find the ending thing first. Okay, now bye.